Hey, everybody. Sorry, I was getting distracted. Psycho was singing to us backstage. What's up? It's Xbox Ultimate episode 103. Yes, 103. Hi. How's it going? So, I've been scrambling trying to get this together because I forgot I was switching to Zoom for this show today. Pong Soul's on his way. He'll be here and he'll be happy that we're on Zoom instead of using Restream, because that shit's been messing up quite a bit lately. But we are live and we're gonna have some fun on this show. We got a lot to talk about. Damn, there's a lot to talk about. We got some controversial stuff to talk about, I guess, and also we got some good games to talk about as well. And joining me this week, as always, is Lore Master Jasper. What's up, dude?
Yo, how's it going? Been playing some Battlefield and some Saints Row today. That's what I've been up to.
Sweet. Which one have you been having more fun with?
Battlefield.
Battlefield? Yeah, so good right now. What about you, Fuzzy? What are you up to, man? Thanks for being here as always.
Yeah, no problem. Man, I'm just playing a wide variety of games. Hopped back on my PC to play like a modified GTA 5, and then went back to was it Midnight Fight Express, which, you know, John Wick Simulator. Yeah, it's really good. I'm enjoying myself on that one.
Right on. I was playing that the other day. I was having quite a bit of fun with it. Also, I think I got to like level 14, something like that. And I realized there's 40 levels. Like, holy shit. It's a lot of levels in that game.
Yeah.
How are you doing,
Psycho? Those
Psycho?
are expensive.
Oh, they are expensive, dude. Like, you don't, it was weird as the first few levels, I was getting more money than I was in the last few levels. And I don't know exactly why. Maybe I'm not getting enough gold teeth or whatever. How's it going with the mellow fellow from outer space?
I'm doing fantastic. Thanks for asking. I've been playing some Power Simulator today. Hey, I want to shout out to...
You're still coming in kind of hot. Psycho. You're just like, I don't know if it's a proximity thing or whatever, but so you were fine the first... Yeah, this is better.
Okay.
There you go. There you go.
Yeah, I just wanted to shout out Colt Eastwood for the Saints Row game that I won from his contest. So
yeah,
thank you, Colt. That's very kind of you, sir. And yeah, I've been playing that. I've been playing. Finished my Halo weekly challenge, and I am at level 99 finally for my battle pass, because we still got 3 months on this fucking battle pass. So
yeah, we'll get an update next week, I think they said, for the roadmap. So
yeah, hopefully it has not gotten any worse than the previous roadmap that we had. Maybe we'll get some cool news. It sounds like they got some stuff that they're excited to share with us from the way that post was, so that's promising. Unless we get like some announcement like late tonight or like on Saturday or something, or some random shit to get it out of the way before the updates next week, right?
Yeah,
that's how they do things sometimes, you know what I mean? But shout out to the chat as well. Shizno, Talos, hey baby, what's up? She's doing stuff around the house. She's not going to be joining us today. Alvin as well, what's up, man? Jesse, how's it going? Siki, the Ducato, how's it going, everybody? Thanks for tuning into the show. What were you gonna say, Psycho?
I was gonna say, did you guys see, I don't know if it was official Halo, but have you seen like the Halo Spartan armor cores that look like fucking like Gundams?
Yeah, that's in MCC. That's they got that today, I think.
What the fuck? Well, okay, cool. I'm glad MCC is getting fucking updates. Fucking shit.
Hey, take over for a second real quick, bro.
Okay, well, I guess we can keep talking about Halo. Yeah, Halo MCC, they've had a bunch of, they get like Halo 3 armor like all the time now. I think a couple months ago they also got new armor. And then before Infinite came out, they got a bunch of like Knights or whatever and Viking armor.
I mean, it's cool and all that. It's, would like to see some of that shit over on Infinite, if that's the long-term game that
Yeah, what's weird is like they're making Halo 3 like more like arcadey and casual than Infinite. Like there's like you can get a Fall Guys backpack in Halo 3 on MCC now. It's like they have backpacks and shit you can put on. It's like
That's lame.
that's like the shit you should be selling in Infinite if you want to get like a just stupid like microtransactions out there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. I won't say mismanaged, but it just seems like there wasn't too much forethought in some of the planning, the transition from the older game to the newer game. Like I kind of like how like Playground Games, for example, when they did the transition from Horizon 4 to Horizon 5. I mean, there was at least a 2-month period before Horizon 5 came out, before they started just going back and recycling the like season stuff. So there were no more new cars added. It was just a matter if you missed them on the first go round, they would now basically recycle like a year and a half's worth of the content. And then all of the focus obviously was put on, Horizon 5, which, given how old that game is, that was a fair enough, transition period for the two. So I'd like to see Halo kind of do the same thing.
Yeah, most definitely. Because playing, playing through the this week's weekly challenge, you get that large, almost like machete chess piece that you get.
Okay, because I think it was last week they had like an orange, like a burnt orange like color for your Spartan, but it was the same one as like a default one you get, and it's like it literally looked the exact same. People were like pissed off about that. It's like I do a week worth of challenges and I get the same color that's already default.
Yeah, I've noticed that. Now I wonder, there's one that I have that it's like a burnt orange, but it's like prism. It has the like diamond effect on the visor, so it looks like it's like bumpy. So it has that texture look to it. So I don't know if that's the only difference between the two. But I get it. I mean, it's like, yeah, if it's the same color but it has like textures to it, cool. But it could be doing other stuff. Like, I don't know. I'm really, really hoping that season 3 they really hit it out of the park. Give us 3 months battle pass.
Like, there's so many leaks out there right now that if they're like ahead on schedule, like season 3, we're gonna have so much content we don't even know what to do with. Like, there's a new creature for single player that's leaked. Beam rifles got leaked. Spartan lasers got leaked. A new DMR that's like really far along. That's actually we've seen gameplay. There's new abilities that look like Valorant abilities. There's new like armor abilities and stuff. There's so much out there that's popping out this week. Just like if this all comes out with season 3, like it's gonna be a whole new game.
Yeah, I know. It's insane. It's like they went from like 2 seasons of having hardly anything, and then if this is all to be come to fruition, it's gonna be like, okay, now we have too much content. Fuck, guys.
Too much. It'll be like the rebirth of Halo Infinite. You know what I mean? It'll be, give it the launch that it should have had to begin with. Be honest with you, it might even be good for the game with the lack of huge first party games this holiday, right? Because people would be looking for something to play. There'll be some hype around the launch of season 3, especially if they have all that stuff. And it might generate this kind of like, hey, this is almost like a Halo like relaunch right now with Forge and co-op and all this other stuff that they could be adding. And then you get wasn't there like a custom game browser that leaked as well? Was that part of it?
Or yeah, I think
data
that's just
mined
like the where you do like custom game nights, stuff like that, I think. But
yeah. So adding all that stuff in, it could be completely like, well, this is like a fully fleshed out Halo that we should have had at launch, but maybe even better if they really do this next season, right? I think they seem excited about whatever they're going to share next week. I really hope it's big news. I haven't even maxed out my battle pass yet, because when I saw that it was a 6-month season, I was just like, I'm just going to kind of hold off and play more towards the end of the season to get my like juices ready and flowing, get ready for season 3 to get that excitement back. Because it doesn't take that long. If you play hardcore, you can really max it out in like a couple weeks, So
because the thing is that with like I've been playing for the weekly challenges because there've been some pretty decent weekly challenges here and there. so like it went from like kind of barely touched it, and then lately because of the weekly challenges, I've been playing a lot more often now, and it's been really great. It feels really smooth. Don't I don't get the sense. I've been playing a lot of Tactical Slayer, so I have not seen that lag that we've been.
I saw a terrible clip on that today. He's like,
oh really? Okay.
Yeah,
because I haven't really experienced it, because I haven't like go around the corner and then die all of a sudden. I haven't had experience that, so they might have maybe tweaked it a little bit, but not too much.
Yeah,
I think you probably just got lucky with your service today, to be honest.
Probably it could have been. It could have been really. I've been real lucky because I was like, oh man, I'm doing great. This is awesome. Yeah.
well, let's get started with the elephant in the room. For this is the Xbox show, so it's kind of interesting, like a way that I wanted to approach this to be different than yesterday. Me and Pong were really going in depth on this whole PlayStation thing, and the increasing the prices and just how screwed up it is, and the people that are out there defending it, or even they say they're not defending it, but they're rationalizing it in a way that's like coming across as like it's okay. I've even seen takes trying to twist it out as like Xbox isn't in good enough shape themselves to be able to raise their price, and it's like, what? Like, if you can try and find a way to twist anything out there news-wise as a negative towards Xbox, it's absolutely ridiculous, so disingenuous, and such bullshit that I see out there. And I've seen quite a bit of takes where people are like, it's just a business. It's just business. It's just because of the world the way it is right now, and this and this and this. They're negating and completely ignoring all of the information that's out there regarding other companies, how they're doing business, all this other stuff. I mean, it just comes to the point where there's some people that are just more interested in finding the rationale behind the business side of it and trying to reason with that as an acceptance. It's like an acceptance mechanism. Well, I accept it because of this. You know what I mean? Well, like I put that letter thing out there as it was almost like a checklist of the accepted things, right? When I did that like thing, I posted on Twitter. I read that letter on PM in the PM last night, and I actually wrote that when I was in car line waiting to pick my daughter up from school, and it was so easy just to go through this timeline of like the little things that everybody's just accepted, like, and just kind of defended, like one after the other, leading up to this moment where now they've raised the prices. And now I'm finally seeing journalists, I'm seeing people that have been defending them as well, start to change their tune a little bit here. And it's become a really interesting thing where PlayStation raising the price of consumers is actually probably going to benefit Xbox. And this is where I want to take this conversation today, because looking at all the markets that they're raising the prices in is markets where they've had a clear dominance over Xbox, not in the US, right? But that's going to hurt PlayStation potentially in these markets and increase potentially even more market share where Xbox has been weak. This is an opportunity of a lifetime for Xbox right now to take advantage of this. If Japanese customers are upset about it, if UK customers are upset about it, if European customers are upset about it, you have this opportunity now to like, look, which they've already said they're planning right now is not to increase prices across the board. Look, we're adding all this different games to Game Pass, all this value. Look, try our service because we're not trying to like do this to you guys, like, like at least not right now. And even if they were, they still have the cheaper option. So it's just, I don't know, man. It was a really weird move from Sony to be this arrogant to think they can get away with it in all these other territories instead of taking the hit themselves, or looking for other ways to handle that situation. And I think Xbox is going to benefit big time. And it would be foolish of them to not take advantage of this. You think, I'll start with Fuzzy. Do you think Xbox has a chance to benefit from PlayStation's arrogance here in those territories?
Oh yeah, it's going to be kind of the PS3 energy or PS3 vibes, basically. Back then, PS3, they came off of the highs of PS2. It was the fastest selling console ever, kind of thing, and they were higher on the hog from that. And they spent a lot of their R&D money on this cell processor, and they just didn't think their farts stink. So they were like, "Hey, we want people to feel like they've earned the right to own this console, so they'll get a second job,
the right to
work
earn
longer
it.
hours and stuff like that." So
it's a privilege to buy a PS5.
Yeah. Right? So I don't know. I have to give it to Daniel Ahmad, who does a lot of the analytics on Twitter, and you can tell he's clearly a PlayStation fan in most cases, if not all cases. But his retort yesterday, where this PlayStation Move is really benefiting the players, because they're going to save you money. Because originally he was planning on buying the PlayStation at 499 euros, and with the price increase, now he's not considering buying the PlayStation at all. So I would hope this increase in those regions where they had a bit of a lead over Xbox in comparison, you're going to start to see some of that market share probably dwindle away. And Xbox is even just keeping everything, status quo. Just don't change a thing. Don't change the pricing. Don't change any of the marketing. They will probably gain some of the market share no matter what. And if they really want to hit it home, then, either advertise bundles at no additional costs, or things along those lines, or maybe even flash sale. Not really flash sales, wouldn't call it that, but like these consoles are 2 years old, and yes, I understand the whole inflation and business economics and stuff, but guess what, I work for a company that also manufactures stuff in China, so I know how much margin are on these parts. And people on Twitter speculating on, well, it's like a normal thing. No, it's not a normal thing. This is the first time in console history. And if you look at basic electronics, whether you want to look 5 or 10 years back, are you still paying $2,000 for a 20-inch TV? No. Are you even paying MSRP on video cards, which video cards for computers? Come on, let's say 6 months ago, you were still paying either MSRP or higher. Now, most of them are $50 to $100 below MSRP, if not even better. And that's brand new in the box, direct from the manufacturer, who will have them in stock, or direct from like Best Buy, with certain exceptions, like your Founders Edition, like a 3090 might be still a little harder to come by, but 3080s and 3080 Ti's
are always a pain in the ass to find anyway.
Yeah. So like a 3080 Ti or a 3080 in general, they're much easier to come by. I'm not going to say they're a breeze, because they're still $700 plus bucks or $800 plus bucks, but still, if they're reducing price and everybody else over at Nintendo's end, because they confirmed that they are not going to raise price and Xbox is not going to raise price, what is Sony doing? Especially when they said after the first year they were already making profit on the console.
Yeah.
So defend it if you will. Stay in your little bubble with your PlayStation exclusives, and hope that this all blows over. But seriously, this is PlayStation shooting themselves in the foot. And
people upset Fuzz, I don't think are like saying that, well, it's not obviously these big businesses and stuff are being affected by the supply issues and inflation and all in exchange rates and all these different things, right? Like, of course they're all being affected by it. Nobody's saying that Sony isn't potentially making less profit because of those issues. And I've seen all the defense mechanisms out there of trying to explain to people how the economy is actually affecting them. Well, no shit. Everybody agrees with that. Nobody's challenging the fact that they aren't hurting a little bit because of that, right? But hurting to the point where they need to actually pass that on to the customer is the point to where people should have an issue with, right?
Especially after they raise the price of games in general. They're the ones that are kind of the leaders in that to some extent. And of course, 2K and a few others hopped on board. But if you've already charged more for the software, and your software in this industry is typically your loss leader to get people's foot in the door, so you hopefully squeeze every dollar out of them from future purchases, you usually absorb that cost. So if you want to continue to make the same margin, okay, raise the price. But bear in mind, if your competitors aren't doing that, you're probably going to, find yourself not moving as many units, and they're going to have to, do new estimates, and their stock calls might not be as favorable as they once were. So I don't know. The economy, yes, it affects them, but most big businesses, especially in the electronic industry, usually absorb that stuff.
Yeah, especially in an ecosystem driven type of economy like that you have built within something like PlayStation, where there's other ways of making that revenue other than the actual hardware itself, right? These companies are used to taking a loss on platforms when they launch, and they're not even taking a loss now. So the fact that they're not willing to take on that themselves is just, again, it's like an arrogance thing within those markets to me. And it just seems to me, again, like that if Xbox is smart, they're just going to make sure they keep this in line with what they currently have, and then keep increasing the value by releasing more products into the services that they have, and gain market share in those markets. And that's the way that Sony will actually feel this. Now, are they still going to sell out of PlayStations there? Probably, but
yeah, that's what I was thinking. Like, I don't know how much this is actually going to affect Sony, because like, if there's so few PlayStations, there's gonna be enough people that still want them. They'll just pay the extra 50 anyway.
well, that's what they're counting on.
Yeah,
right?
The same people that buy a new iPhone every year they don't care about the extra $50 on a PlayStation 5 at the end of the day. They'll just buy it anyway, So it's like,
but
I don't know. I don't think it's gonna affect them at the end of the day. Like,
it'll happen more like if they don't get that price back down in 2023 when there's actual product on the shelves, both, and that somebody walks in to get a console and they can see an Xbox that's $500 or $300, and then they can see a PlayStation that's $550 or whatever. Like, and again, I'm rounding to USD right now because I don't remember what all the different currency rates are. But when you actually have that situation, and then you add the Game Pass factor on top of that, it becomes more of a difficult decision. And that's why we talked about a long time ago that value wins. Value always wins. In the market share in the US, like, Xbox has gained so much this generation already, and that's without any major first party releases except for Halo and Forza, really. We have a avalanche of them coming starting next year, and even more cool new games that were announced to Game Pass coming pretty soon that we're going to be talking about on the show as well, that is adding a level of variety to the ecosystem that really didn't exist last gen. Psycho, like, is Xbox in position to take full advantage of this? Do you think it's going to benefit them with Sony's price increase?
Well, I would hope that they would take advantage of this moment, because as we saw all last generation, any misstep the Xbox did, Sony was on top of it.
Ooh, that's a good point.
And they were, and it hurt the Xbox brand. It really did. So, and I know Xbox is the nice guy, but you can do other things, like, like we were saying, I was saying in the DMs, lower, if you do like a holiday sale, lower your price $50. Now you're $100 cheaper than PlayStation. And that was the whole thing with the whole Xbox One PS4, because the PS4 was $4 and Xbox One was $500. And then people were like, I can get a PlayStation for cheaper. And when parents go this holiday, Black Friday, and looking for a console, little Jimmy wants, oh shit, I can get an Xbox. I can get a Series S for $250 bundled with a 3 months of Game Pass. And it's only $10-15 a month for, if he's going to play online. If he's not playing online, it's $10 a month, and has the access to all these games. So a lot of parents are going to look at that and be like, times are tough, and and what better gift? Like, it's almost to the point where it's an impulse buy. Like, the Series S's, I guarantee, are gonna blow through this holiday season, and it's gonna set records for Xbox with the amount of console sale, and we're going to see now with new subscribers to the Xbox to the Game Pass, we're going to see those active user numbers grow too. So now it's going to be a healthy healthy console, with the fact of, you know, we're looking at other markets. This is just America. Now you got other markets that are you know, they're like Japan is upset. There are people that I'm not buying this console now, because it's not the fact that it just raised the price just by a little bit. It's the fact that they raised the price everywhere but America. And it for Sony, it says that the US market is more important than everyone else. And for being a Japanese company, that's kind of like a middle finger to them. And you know, and they don't forget shit. And they do not forget. And they will retaliate with their wallets. And Xbox is doing great with getting a lot of these Japanese games onto their console, and we're even seeing a lot of the Korean games are coming over. So we're seeing a lot of games from the East on the Xbox now, and people are taking notice, and we're going to see a change. And everyone is, at least, you know, on the Twitter streets, they have a blind eye. They're like, oh, nothing's happening. Sony's going to have the dominance this whole generation. And I'm sorry to say, it's not like 2013 anymore. It's we're in a whole different generation, and it's going to be a whole different market when you know, after this holiday season, we'll see who's the market leader. And I'm going to say it's going to probably more likely be Xbox for the majority of the markets out there because of this.
In the US, it'll be like sooner than others. I mean, it's a lot closer here right now. And a lot of the other markets is still 2-1, 3-1 or more, right? In Japan, it's like 10-1 still, right? So as far as catching up in those markets, it's going to take a lot, but not necessarily as much as when you think about not necessarily having to rely on console sales as well, because if they need to get is people in the ecosystem, right? So even without the sales numbers necessarily for Xbox and other places, people might be willing to try the ecosystem without even buying a console, right? In Japan, that's actually more likely than even a lot of other places, because guess what? They like playing mobile games a lot, and they have great infrastructure with internet and these kind of things, and play mobile games a lot, all these different situations. And if you can get xCloud and all that stuff into more people's hands with Game Pass into more people's hands, the key is getting the right games in the ecosystem to attract the customer. And that's where they've been making strides. Like not all games are in Game Pass, but there has been talks also of getting games that you own into the service, right? Which has been kind of something that may be going on behind the scenes right now. And if they can start doing that, that's going to help as well, because a game like Soul Hackers 2, right? I was just playing that, streaming it. It's not in Game Pass, right? But if you can make that accessible via the cloud and playable on all these different devices, it's going to help in those markets as well. And I don't think, I mean, even the PlayStation 5 isn't selling like hotcakes in Japan because it's so big, right? Like no console, like next gen consoles, like doing gangbusters in Japan. And besides, it's a small market in the first place, but it's an important market for the culture. You know what I mean? So that's the important thing with Japan. But like, you also have all the rest of Asia and all these other territories where Xbox really needs to make some strides. And I don't necessarily know that focusing on hardware is the way to go, except for maybe the Series S, right? Is a good option. Besides hardware and stuff, you got the cloud infrastructure. I think is the Trojan horse into those markets for sure.
Well, I think also it's like the PlayStation is never on shelves, because it's kind of like at the beginning of the pandy, as Pong likes to call it, where everyone was buying toilet paper and you couldn't find toilet paper. That's kind of what the PlayStation is. Once it's on the shelf, people just buy it because they know they can resell it for like a profit. So like, I think PlayStation just needs to get to that spot where they can have that on the shelf consistently, and then people will kind of just like, they just won't keep scalping or whatever. I think that's their biggest problem that they have.
Yeah, and that's the thing with like you were saying, Mav, with xCloud, we're seeing them bringing games that are not in Game Pass, but bringing games to xCloud. What was we just saw a game that was kind of announced, but not really. It was Elden Ring that it was coming. People were like, "Oh, it's coming to Game Pass," but we saw that literature that it's coming to xCloud. Uh, and
Possibly, it's like one of those data
Yeah.
mine things that like Xbox claims it
Yes.
was a Xbox is claiming that that was like a website error or whatever, and it shouldn't have
Yeah.
been there, just like a lot of the other games that people found, right? And that kind of led to some speculation that we're going to announce this at Gamescom because like there's a lot of people from that team that were going to be there and stuff. Turns out that didn't happen, right? So we don't know. Maybe it was an error, but we do know that at beforehand, Jason Ronald and also other people at Xbox, and even when they originally announced Game Pass and the vision for what it would be, would included game ownership and playing your library, not just games in Game Pass. So that's still a possibility, but don't know exactly what they're doing to work on it. But that they are working on it. That's all we know right now.
Yeah, but once you get those games into xCloud, especially with like in the Japanese market, they have um, such great infrastructure with their data with cellular phones that they're beyond. They had 5Gs years ago before we even had 5G. That's how far advanced that Japan is with their cellular network. So to have an xCloud where they're on the go all the time, and that is like the perfect platform for a lot of these gamers. And you put the right set of games for xCloud or into Game Pass, and that's it. It's just going to grow, and you got to feed it. And that's where we're almost at that cusp where it's just getting to that point where they're going to have all these great games coming out constantly.
Yeah.
Next year we got a ton, so we just got to find out what's the second half of that 2023, and it just to keep that progression going. And then and that's it. And you put the right games in there, and I mean, look at the games that got announced this at Gamescom. I mean, a heavily an East Market set of games that were announced, and they look gorgeous.
Yeah, there's a lot of different variety, different than last generation for sure. We're gonna get into some of that a little bit later too. Fuzzy, do you think that Sony would potentially reconsider this at all with the fallout that's actually happening on journalists? This is actually making big journalistic sites now with talking about the fallout and I even saw one of them was saying something like Sony may be making the same mistake that Xbox One did at the beginning of that generation. And are they going to suffer that same fate where people just lose faith in a brand? I don't think that's going to be that drastic, but these things add up, right? Like one thing after another, after another, after another, after another. It's okay. Yeah, it's okay. Yeah, I don't mind that. Yeah, at some point, that's like, shit, I can't keep doing this. Like people start to kind of second guess themselves about why the fuck am I defending this stuff constantly? And when there's something else out there that's not doing that, and I think at some point this could have that effect. Now, I think it's up to the competition to stoke that fire a little bit as well. Like y'all were talking about how PlayStation did that to Xbox last gen. You pointed it out. You took advantage of every opportunity that there was. Xbox is known as playing nice a lot to the public, and they may not do that kind of thing, right? But do you think that Sony could potentially end up retracting this if it's bad enough?
They could, but I don't think they will. I see Sony is that type of company where until things look dire, I don't think they budge. Like the whole thing with the storefront stuff, it didn't go away after a day. It was like 2 weeks later and people were still talking about it. And I think that was one of those things where they were like, all right, we'll keep it. And then, they made it so, all right, you can still make purchases for the Vita and stuff like that. And when they extended the time frame that it was going to be live, people still didn't quite buy in droves like they claimed they would. And then they eventually closed it and people were silent about it because it was kind of like, all right, we listened. You didn't, keep your word on that you wanted to buy stuff. So we're closing it. But it kind of went silently at that point. PlayStation doesn't typically, do a 180 on anything.
Yeah. The last one I remember is like, what was it, the PS3 and Vita store, that thing that they had where they were like, oh yeah, we're still going to let those operate. But then I think they don't really still anyway. I don't even know exactly what happened with that, but I remember a retraction on it.
Yeah. The deal was they were going to close it at a certain time. And then they held off on doing that for 6 months or so, I think it was.
Right.
And then the sales never really changed as far as people didn't buy in droves like they claimed they would. And they quietly closed it.
Right.
I think at that point, people knew not to say, hey, what are you doing? Game preservation. No, because they would be like, well, due to lack of sales or lack of activity, we're closing it. And it's the same thing with some of their servers for some of their games that may only be like a year or two old. I think like Gravity Rush is server closed, Rig server closed after a year or so. Drive Club was like after a year and a half. So anything that doesn't hit, right from the get-go gets closed down. I'm just waiting for them to make that announcement.
In my opinion,
All-Stars.
That's like probably the worst, not the worst, but that's not necessarily the best way for game preservation. The best way for game preservation is move your games you own with you to whatever the new devices are.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Because like there's only a finite amount of those systems out there somewhere. So like 20, 30 years from now, it's going to get less and less and less and less and less, right? So keeping those storefronts active isn't necessarily a huge thing for me. Now, like if you're talking about running online systems and all these kind of things, because that amount is dwindling and going to dwindle over time. But guess what? Like people are still going to buy new Xboxes, new PlayStations. There's still going to be access to this cloud ecosystem in the future and all that stuff. What about all the digital games you've bought? Be able to play them, except for the ones that they can't get licensing. They got to figure that out as well. But that's one of the things that's kind of missing from that ecosystem right now, in my opinion.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with you on that. And I don't think PlayStation's going to budge. I think if they had did this in the US, which I'm pretty sure there was like a committee within the walls of Sony that were like, no, we can't. No, we will lose our shirts if we do this in the US. So I think whatever 180 that they would have had to do would have only occurred if they did this in the US, and the amount of noise that would have probably, or the uproar from it. But since it's the areas where they already have I would say a substantial lead, but more of a lead than what they do here in the US. Like I think the market share that's in the US, even though it's like 22 million consoles sold to like 16 or 17 million consoles, I think it's more like 1-to-1 here in the States, and the UK is the one where they have more of that lead, and Japan is where they have more of that lead right now. But I don't think they could afford to do it in the US, but in those other areas, I think unless all of a sudden, like we wake up a month from now and, Xbox is on top worldwide or globally, then they might, try and do a 180 like, oh, we have more access to chips. We're going to do a flash sale. And but at that point, it might be too late. Did they say
when this is going to take effect? Like, or is it already going to affect the price hike?
I think they said like August 29th or something, or like the end of August. So if there's already stuff on the shelf.
Yeah, if there's already stuff on the shelf, they're not reversing it.
Yeah, exactly. So I think it's just a matter of they would have to lose in every market enough market share for them to even, take steps back. But I think it's kind of set in stone their fan base champion, paying for that premium experience, and now they're being put to the test and raked over the coals while doing so. So, yeah, Sony's going to set it fast.
So in Japan, sorry for interrupting, but Japan
Okay.
and China, it goes in effect September 15th.
Oh,
Okay. So yeah, if we're going to see
And
it, then it's going to be in the next
Australia,
few weeks.
Yes, Australia, Mexico, Canada, also September. So the only one that does not have an actual date is Europe and the UK. The only two do not have an actual date that says it goes into effect, but the rest of the world is September 15th.
Yeah.
So they have like 2 weeks to change this.
Yeah,
pretty much. Yeah, that's nuts, man. It's just crazy because you damn well know if Xbox decided to do this instead of Sony, there'll be an uproar. Media outlets will be out there.
Oh yeah,
Xbox is back to their old tactics. Xbox wants it, and now to hardly see. I mean, we are seeing some media outlets coming out and saying, this is not good. It's just you wish to see journalism keep the same energy with everything, so if one does something bad, then call them out. Don't be like, oh, it's okay, everything's gonna be fine.
A lot of these journalists, Psycho, they're trying to keep good with like those brands, I think, almost. You know what I mean? Do you feel like that? Like, PlayStation scratches their back, they're trying to scratch PlayStation's back a little bit,
Yeah, but what does that benefit? It doesn't benefit the customer. It benefits them for their own well-being. And why? At the end of the day, as customers, you're gonna look, and you're not gonna believe anything that these journalists really say.
Well, look at the headlines that we've seen even from the Phil Spencer interview. Like, you can't even like look at these websites or any of these gaming journalists and take them seriously anymore. The only ones reporting on like this, like in the just a real way, not like defending. They're just going out there and saying this is what is happening, right? And that's like places like The Verge or like certain like things like that. They're not really doing opinion pieces really on this. They're just saying.
I mean, that's been like that for over 10 years
at
this point. Like Kotaku is like, it's just
the opinion pieces all over the place on like most gaming journalist websites has gotten out of hand. But that's all with all journalism, period. Regardless, you got political journalism is the same way. You got all this different kinds of journalism has just pretty much gone to like the shitter about opinion pieces instead of just stating facts of like what this is news today. This is what happened today. And instead of like, this is the most screwed up thing I've ever seen from blah, 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 blah. It's like all these people that, just like we're doing, we're not trying to be journalists. I'm not a journalist. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not going to go to like some major gaming website and write about the news, right? Because it's going to come across like my opinion. But that's what's happening on all these journalistic websites, and they twist these words and you make these really horrible headlines. That the problem is also, and they need to be aware of this, which they probably are, is that 99% of the people on social media don't even read the article. They just see the picture and see the headline, and they think that is what is the news story, right?
Is Phil Spencer a racist because he won't allow exclusive games on his consoles?
It's like a random, like what random stuff like that. Like Phil Spencer sees opportunity in NFTs. Like I saw that like a GameSpot, like, and I'm like, a GameSpot? Like I used to get like read that GameSpot stuff all the time back in the day, and like that simple thing. Like if anybody watched that Phil Spencer interview, we completely know that line is complete horse shit, right? And you've seen a lot of opinion pieces come out. There's this other stupid ass journalist that I see that posts a lot of opinion pieces on Twitter that makes a lot of comments pro PlayStation, negative Xbox all the time. And it's like blatant fanboyism. However, they write for major publications, right? And they're going out there defending again PlayStation, but then making an opportunity to slam Xbox in the same post about defending the PlayStation price increase. And it's how are these people actually behind journalism when it comes to gaming, right? Like, it just doesn't make any damn sense. The news gets lost in all of this, and the people's actual opinion gets lost because of the fed of misinformation that is out there. And it's like a huge problem with just media in general, but like within gaming, it's become so apparent and it's so obvious. But then you think it's so obvious and you think it's so apparent, but then you see somebody retweet it, be like, oh, this is horrible, right? Like, no, did you read the article or did you even click on it? No, I'm glad you didn't, because it's clickbait. Never share that shit again, you moron. Like you see that stuff all the time. And I feel like certain people that have these agendas just use this stuff like this as a way to stoke it, right?
Yeah,
for sure.
To get their opinion across, or their console war bullshit. And that's the thing that I don't like. Like, it's just like the same bullshit. Like, even with the price hikes of the PS5, people start bringing out shit that happened like 5 years ago. It's like, yo, like, I get it, but we
It's
don't
not
need
relevant.
a dog. We don't. Yeah, it's like it. Yeah, they increased a price for something, but that's, come on, guys. It's like, we don't need to fucking add false information just to, but oh, Sony sucks. Like, we know that they're not consumer friendly right now, and it's just blatantly obvious. If you've been around this generation, you've noticed that Sony has not done things that it benefits the customer. It benefits their pocket or their shareholders. That's pretty much what is going on. And it's, I don't know if I just don't know if Jim Ryan is fighting with the execs at fucking at Sony, and there's just like this stalemate. So like, fine, do it, and you see what happens. And then we're gonna see Jim Ryan's gonna come out and like, they're gonna retract what they said or what they are doing, and be in they'll do his way and make, see, my way's working, until it's just weird what Sony's doing this. Like I stated in a tweet, I was like, what is Sony doing this generation? Because they're not consumer friendly at all, and they're not looking out for the gamers. They're looking out for their pocket, and people that champion that are fucking weird. Sorry, you're weird.
Yeah. But the weird thing, so first off, like, I expect all these companies to look out for their bottom line 100%. That's what they're in business, right? But there's certain situations that happen, right, when they got to make a decision. They got to make a decision on how to handle this situation. Okay, well, the inflation is so crazy right now, it's like historic and stuff. Now, obviously we're gonna get through this, you know what I mean? We're gonna take a hit here, so what do we do? Well, we can do this. Option A, option B, option 3, C, whatever. Let's take the easy approach. Go up. To everybody? No, just the ones we know and get away with it. It's like, oh, that makes a lot of sense. Let's do that. Yeah, easy. We'll see. We're going to get a flack for it for sure. People aren't going to like it. You're going to see some people on Twitter say stuff. You're going to see podcasts say things, but guess what? Some of these journalists out there, they got our backs. Don't worry. They're going to put this out there. They're going to talk about the inflation, the economy, the macroeconomics, the stuff that's really important to tell them what's really going on and why we have to do this. Don't worry. It's going to be okay. And they'll see. We're still going to sell out. We got God of War happening this year, so, oh well, we can take the hit on the image right now. When God of War gets 9s, people will forget all about it. They'll spend that extra $30. And guess what? To make it even better, we got that exclusive content coming to you for Hogwarts Legacy. Everybody get pumped. Yes. Now I don't like, you can kind of just see like the easy way out approach, like just raise the price. Okay. It's happened several times already this generation now. Um, but Jasper, you're just like, it's not going to hurt them, right? You think?
No, there's enough people out there that will buy it anyway. Like, the only way it's going to hurt him is when there's enough out there that people actually are forced to make that decision between Xbox and PlayStation.
Yeah.
Right now, there's not enough out there. People just buy it.
Exactly. Either one. The only thing only one you see regularly on the shelves right now is a Series S, because they just have so many of them that they can make, and that actually meeting demand mostly. But this holiday season, they're probably still going to sell out like crazy, even on the Series S's, because of how popular those consoles are going to be. So Phil in the interview that he had also was saying that this holiday is going to be probably hard to get a console, period, right? So there's lots of avenues to try and get one, obviously, but like they're having some pretty damn good deals right now in Series S's. So I anticipate that's going to be the big push, because that's the one that they can get the most out, right? And it's also, you know, cheaper, it's easier to buy. You have other avenues. You can get like Verizon or Xbox All Access, or, you know, all these different ways. I think
it's also it's harder now to lose loyalty in your customers, like as a game console, with all your games kind of carrying over generation after generation. Like, once people start building their library and they can just go to their console and say they have 400 games, they're like, why would I switch? I'm going to lose all of that. Like, it's harder to like get people to switch now. So I'm just not sure how much it's actually going to hurt PlayStation at the end of the day.
Yeah, I think the best way it would hurt them is the image and people speaking up. But there's too many of those big defenders out there. Like, now I've seen so, like I said, I've seen some articles taking the other approach now, actually come out with a negative take, and that's why I was asking, is there a possibility they could retract? Because if there's enough of like the big time journalistic that's going to get into the casual household, and people start seeing like, oh, PlayStation's doing bad things, it just gets in the back of their brain. You know what I mean? Once something gets a certain kind of image and connotation with it, it's hard to erase that. It happened to Xbox last gen. It became the lesser thing. It became like the thing that is trying to do DRM. It's trying to do like more expensive, less powerful. Like certain taglines got attached to it that was in the casual audience's brain that can't see past those things, right? And PlayStation, unless they have those things attached to them, like that's not going to really affect them. Now, the one thing that you could say might start to affect them potentially is, if you see a lot of these websites and a lot of people speak on it, is value is not as good on PlayStation as it is on other systems, right? Value, they keep going up. They keep making it harder to buy things. They keep making it more increasingly expensive. And in times of economic recession, where competition is doing things to make it easier for people to get into the ecosystem, and the more one keeps doing the opposite and one keeps doing the worse for consumers, then people might start to be like, that's more expensive, and the other option has way more value. That's the way it could hurt them, but we'll see. I don't know. Like, they have such a strong brand.
Yeah, the only way it's going to hurt them is if they have consecutive years of negative news.
Yeah,
but like at the same time, like they can put out like stuff to distract people. Like, look, we got a fancy new controller. Like
PSVR 2 announcement coming soon. So
they'll put stuff like that out to like be like, look, we're doing good things now, to kind of like get you to forget about that negative news. Like it takes consecutive years of negative press to actually change that mindset.
And they've got a show coming in September, probably, right? That's been rumored heavily, and they're probably going to have some awesome stuff at that show. And all of this negativity right now is going to melt away with whatever they showcase there. Probably
depends on what they showcase, because all we know from what they have right now is just Spider-Man, Wolverine, and God of War. God of War's coming out, so we know that's
if the PSVR 2 is $600, they're going to take another share. But
that's true.
Yeah, that's the thing. That's it. So if people will go back and look, 2020, you know, it was just. You know, Sony got a little bit of flack, and then 21 they got a little bit of flack, and now they're getting flack again in 2022.
But they've also had strong positives this year by buying Bungie and stuff like that. So it's like,
buying Bungie, but they're staying multiplayer. So it's like it's positive, but it's like as a if you're coming into the system, you're like, well, Yeah, but it's gonna be multiplayer for Bungie. But at the end of the day, when it comes to like parents, they're gonna look at their wallets, and they're gonna look if they're gonna buy their kid, like little fucking Johnny is gonna get a fucking
Oh,
Series
it's
S.
Johnny now. Okay.
Yeah, it's Johnny this time, and because he's gonna get a Series S because the parents are gonna foot the fucking bill, and that's what it is. It's just this, you know, and if they see that I'm not PS5, they're $70 games versus 60, or if you get the Game Pass, it's just a $10 subscription fee a month. So parents look at that, like, yeah, if I spend 80 $190 a year for the $10 Game Pass, or I'm like, or for the Game Pass Ultimate, so they look at the things and they're like, for a parent, guess what? My kids want fucking a console because they're getting that age now that they're like, hey, because my daughter's like, I want a PS5,
You
and
hand
I'm
him
like,
a Switch.
I laughed at them. I laughed at her. I'm like, yeah, no, you're not getting. I'm like, if you got a job to pay for these $70 games, because I can't foot you $70 games all the time. And I was like, I'd get you an Xbox, a Series S with Game Pass. And she's like, no, but I'm working on that.
Yeah.
I'm working on that. So we'll see.
Yeah,
see how that
this is a brand connotation is so strong, like it's just that brand awareness and like, the cool thing. And that's what Xbox had in the 360 generation. They lost it in the Xbox One. They're getting it back, right? But they're also like, they're becoming more known as the family thing. You know what I mean? Like that's less edgy, right? At times, but I think that's going to change too, because we got some interesting games coming that are going to be part of this ecosystem that's maybe going to surprise some people, right? And that we've seen at Gamescom and stuff like that, where it's like, okay, well, you get these crazy games and these services too. It's not just about your typical shooters and stuff like that. So I think that Xbox is gaining a lot of traction this gen, and you can see it with the market share. They're just gaining market share like crazy, right? So
yeah, I just want Xbox to get some grit when shit like this happens with with the price hike. Man, would it have been? They did come back and say we're not raising our prices, and then Nintendo came out and said, yeah, we're not following Sony either. So you got two of the major three are not raising prices. So
yeah, they left it open in case like the things get worse that they could for sure. But they said right now our price is still this. You know what I mean? So
yeah, I mean you can't if chips jump up. I mean now you're at a point that it's like, how much of a hit can you really take versus so it's one of those things.
Yeah. Shout out to Alvin, hit us with a $10 super chat earlier. He said some of my savings from snagging a PS5 early. So thanks for this, considering some of your PS5 savings. So appreciate that, Alvin, the $10 super chat. Yeah, so speaking of, let's get into some of this, because I was thinking about this a lot, and one of the things that was a big advantage for PlayStation last generation was some of the types of games that they've had on their ecosystem that Xbox didn't really have, right? They had some, but they didn't really hit, and they kind of stopped coming out on the platform. Where on the 360 generation, there was a lot of variety of different kinds of content. For example, I was just playing Soul Hackers 2 before we went live. Atlas is now on Xbox, right? Crazy.
Yay.
Then also we have games like were announced at E3 and now at Gamescom is coming to Game Pass day one. And that's games like Wolong, Fallen Dynasty, and Lies of P, right? Both games that really we didn't get a lot of last gen, if at all. We got Dark Souls, was a Souls-like. Neo skipped Xbox, the Demon Souls game skipped Xbox, Bloodborne's wasn't on Xbox, so there's a lot of franchises that were in that Souls genre that just didn't come out on Xbox. But if you go back in the history of Xbox, like there's games in that same mold before. You know, you had the Ninja Gaidens and stuff like that were really hard and things, and had a lot of Japanese flavor and stuff like that, right? The old likes, yeah. But now you got two extremely highly anticipated games. I've seen a lot of PlayStation enthusiasts that are really like these Souls games and Japanese games really start talking about some of these games that, guess what? Xbox got coming to Game Pass day one on these things, which means they're going to be in that ecosystem, which means they're going to be part of the cloud ecosystem as well, which will be in those territories like Japan and things like that, where it may be more appealing to people to give it the service a try. Long Fallen Dynasty actually got a gameplay trailer today that had a lot of people extremely excited about it, because that's what we didn't get with the last trailer. But this one, the gameplay looks solid. It looks like, you know, Neo, kind of, which it should, because it's inspired. It was made by one of the creators of Neo, right? But it's also like with that Chinese like fantasy type flair and stuff as well. So that game's got a lot going for it right now. I've seen a lot of people be like, whoa, long, it looks great. And it's hype. I'm high on my list right now. So do y'all think like Long is going to bring potentially people into the ecosystem that kind of only played those kind of games on Xbox? I mean, on PlayStation?
That's tough though, because I would say a majority of Xbox people, this isn't their style of game. And
well, that's what I'm saying though, Jasper, right? I'm saying like bringing people that that only see that as like, oh, that's a PlayStation type of game, right? Or I'm only used to playing those games on a PlayStation or a Nintendo, or now you can get it in Game Pass, right? So you look at it and you're saying, okay, like, well, especially in Japan where like they have that infrastructure and everything, you got people with the TVs with the Game Pass app and stuff and things like that now. Like, oh, do I just try and play this game on that ecosystem, or maybe I'll go pick up a Series S or a Series X, because also, hey, Lies of P is another one coming, right? So I think it's maybe more attractive to that different audience, you know? They got more variety.
Man, I'm kind of playing
you're the realist, you're the Debbie Downer.
Yeah, I'm playing kind of devil's advocate here tonight. At the same time though, like it's also cheaper to buy a $70 game than it is to buy a console to play it. So it's like, do you go out and buy another console to play the game? Or do you just
what if you don't have one yet and you're trying to make a decision?
If you don't have one yet, then you can come over. But like,
yeah,
that's what I'm saying. Like, if you already have it, like, are you going to go spend another $500 on a Series X to get it with Game Pass?
I think what you may find some people do is just try it on a browser if they have a PC or something along those lines. If the browser version works well enough for them, and they, you know, let's say they signed up for Game Pass for $1 or whatever the case is, because you know there's always those specials out there. It might be enough to hook them. They were like, oh yeah, I'll try it out, and then they get hooked on the game, and it's like, yeah, I'm probably gonna have to keep the subscription and pick up a Series S or something along those lines. But I think the timing, if they have a special on Game Pass, allow people to try it on the browser. Hey, it would be as good of a test to see if they can, you know, pull some more people in.
I think that marketing aspect's going to help a lot too, because you're going to see it heavily marketed with the Xbox, and you know how that works, right? And people just, oh, it's an Xbox game, right? Like, oh, cool, I'm going to go get that on Xbox because it's an Xbox game. That's where it's going to be the best. Or is that the only place it is? I don't even know, because I'm just a random person that doesn't look at anything and know anything, but I'm looking forward to Souls games, you know? So yeah, maybe I think it will bring some people and add that. When I was talking before about Xbox adding that edge, right? That those kind of games that like are out there, like it's a hardcore game, right? That's like, hey, that's only for the hardcore gamer there, and Xbox has it, so you're hardcore if you play this game, and you get Game Pass also, right? Like, it just those kind of stupid like thoughts that people actually seen. I've seen those takes on Twitter actually. Like I've seen somebody say, "You're not a real gamer unless you like Souls games." I'm like, what? Like, what does that even mean?
I will say though, if Lies of P is the next Elden Ring, which a lot of people are like kind of saying it is because it's getting that hype level, I could see it bringing a lot of people to Game Pass, just checking it out, like through either the Samsung TV or the browser or mobile phone or whatever.
Mhm.
Just because they're like, well, everyone's talking about this, and I only got to pay $1 to fucking check it out. Might as well just try it on my phone real quick or something, you know?
Yeah.
I could see it bring it, but I don't know if you retain those people.
Well, what if they, okay? So here's the catch with Game Pass. Here's where I think the trick is with Game Pass, right? Because if let's say I subscribe to Netflix or I subscribe to whatever for Stranger Things or whatever, just to watch Stranger Things. Well, I have it for the month. You know what I mean? I binge watch Stranger Things and it's over with in like 2 days, right? At some point, I'm probably gonna look through there and see what else there is to play.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And if you have other games launching around that time, it's like, oh, there's another new game. Okay, I'm gonna check that out. Oh, what's this? Okay, yeah, I'll play that. And you know what? I have this. I mean, I always trash and make fun of Halo. You know what I mean? But while I have this service, I might as well try and play the campaign. And I mean, it's like what? I paid $14. I'm gonna. You know what? I'm gonna destroy Xbox and make them so stupid for giving me all these games for $15 that I'm just gonna go and play all their like big time franchises and just unsubscribe to the service. And guess what? Like, oh, maybe you actually like these games. You know? Oh shit! And then they got this other thing coming. Like, oh well. Oh shit! Starfield's coming out in March, right, or May or whatever. And you got Redfall coming. That's getting some excitement. You got this other Souls game now. Man, maybe you know what? It's only $15. You know, I'll just stick with it because you know what I mean. It's like a good value, right? I mean, that's where I think they could make waves, and that's why they're targeting these different kinds of games as well to bring to the service because you need to have something for everybody, right? And once you get somebody into the ecosystem, it's hard to stop playing games on Game Pass. It really is. Like I've seen people like I'm unsubscribing from Game Pass and never use it. I'm like, really? Like, okay, that's cool. Like you don't. I mean, each their own. But for me, like I'd never run out of stuff to play on Game Pass. You know.
But I mean, like I don't have a PlayStation, but like I kind of put myself like, if I was good to go to PlayStation and to try their service, like I don't think I would stay for it because like my primary device is an Xbox. So if someone's primary device is a PlayStation, there's no reason for them to just keep Game Pass going because they primarily play on PlayStation. So I don't know.
Right.
Well, there's a lot of the games that are going to be coming out that you know, if somebody hasn't played or if they have like let's say PS4 and an Xbox One, you know, let's say an Xbox PS4 player, you know, he hasn't made that jump to PS5 yet, but he's seeing a lot of great things coming out of Xbox. A lot of these games are going to that service, you know, and you know, as a console will aside, you look at it and you're like, you know, I can get all these games. I'm only in it $15 a month, you know, and I can play on my TV because I have a Samsung TV. So he's now playing on his Samsung TV and he's like, all right, I'm really liking these games. Like I didn't think it. And then he goes and he's like, you know, then he saves up $300, buys a Series S, plays that, and he's like, man, I really want to check out. And then he sells that, gets the Series X because he really wants to get the full experience with 4K ray tracing and, you know, 60 frames a second. And he's like, damn, I see why everyone is really liking Xbox. I see what the appeal is. And that's how you get a lot of the people that haven't jumped to next gen yet or our current gen. If you're still on last generation's hardware, a lot of people are just they're waiting for that set of games that just screams like, boom, you need to be playing over here. And Game Pass makes it really hard for people to say, nah, I don't see great value over there. You can't say that with a subscription service like Game Pass. And that's where you're going to get a lot of these new subscribers and a lot of these casuals that on PS4, like, holy shit, I can get Call of Duty in Game Pass.
Yeah,
I don't have to.
That's going to have such a huge impact with like with that, and also with console sales too, because you can have that like Call of Duty themed Xbox. You can have like it comes with Call of Duty in the box, right? You know, all those kind of things you can do. And not just that, like Diablo, you can do it with that too. That's a whole nother type of person. And then you add other capabilities there too, man. It's just like it becomes like enticing in the brand awareness, and the value just like speaks for itself.
Especially like you can, like Master Chief is kind of the face of Xbox, but he's not necessarily the face of like gaming. Like a lot of people will look towards like Call of Duty as like some more like famous characters, or like Overwatch. They see those characters like on Twitch every day or whatever. It's like you put that on Xbox now, but it's like, oh, I guess that's on Xbox. So you just go in the store and buy that. It's not just Master Chief on the box.
Yeah, and also, I mean, you got the Riot Games stuff they're doing with PC and things like that too. So they're trying to like check all these boxes. You know what I mean? Like with the Riot Games deal, you know, and actually acquiring Activision Blizzard is checking that PC box. You know what I mean? They're like, well, this is going to get us a lot stronger on PC, right? Then they're doing the, you know, they're going to have Call of Duty. They got Diablo. They're going to have all these other games with all those other studios they already acquired. That's their like console RPG for shooters, Souls-like games now with making these other deals and stuff, and which I think Phil Spencer kind of alluded to. They're going to be still looking for studios in other markets, right? That's trying to check those boxes. And they're kind of growing out into this like worldwide strategy of trying to be the platform for everyone, right? And I think getting that marketing is a huge part of this component of these deals that people aren't really considering it too much. You know, like marketing wise with these acquisitions is absolutely a key strategy that's going to help them grow that ecosystem, right? Shout out to Pong Soul joining us from fresh getting home from work. How's it going, man?
It's good to be here. It is great to be here, actually. What a day, what a day, what a day. Listen, sorry I'm late, everybody. Awesome to see all your freaking smiling faces in chat. Awesome to see you all as well. It is Friday. That is a good thing. So what I miss, because nothing happened this week. So what have you guys been talking about?
Are we still talking about underwear? Yeah.
What?
Finally.
What? What are we talking about right now? What are we still talking about? We still talking about Sony or what?
I think, yeah, kind of. Yeah, we're talking about the value proposition, kind of, and like we've moved on to talking about those games.
How long and stuff will affect Sony and Game Pass and stuff like that.
Yeah. But I think basically what I was getting at with this topic, Pong, is, you know, we have games entering this ecosystem and Xbox this generation that really kind of skipped last, right? And with that marketing and with Game Pass day one on games like Wo Long, which we saw the gameplay trailer today, and Lies of P, those are two like Souls-ish type games, right? That we only had really Dark Souls last generation with that. It's a very popular genre. You saw how Elden Ring did. Everybody saw that, right? And you have a lot of people that I'm seeing a lot of hype and excitement for these games that are like becoming, it could be one of the next big games out there that people just kind of came out of nowhere, right? Mm-hmm. And because very popular genre, and Xbox didn't really have that edge last gen with some of those kinds of games, and attaching those to your platform it kind of creates this mindshare thing to where it makes it more attractive. One thing, it's cool again, right? It's cool to go ahead and try it because it's got the cool games, right? Plus also, you know, if you're looking at the cheaper way to even access that game in the first place, Xbox is very inviting to do that, no matter even if you have a console or not, right? Yeah. So we're kind of talking about that playing a factor and adding into the value and looking at how that's going to affect this generation, because I think as important as exclusives are, right, with like Starfield and those kind of games, having these kind of games in your ecosystem is, to me, almost equally as important, because you got to attract to everybody, right? Not just the people that already have the system, you know?
Right. That's what I was just going to say, was that I was going to almost say those exact words. What I was going to say is that games skipping your system is almost as harmful as not having exclusives, right?
Yeah.
And sometimes just because a lot of those games that are skipping your system is what creates a lot of diversity within your ecosystem. When people look at Xbox and say, like, I really like what Xbox is doing, but do they have this game? And when that no list becomes too long at some point, and they're all over on Sony's, a lot of those people are just going to choose Sony at the end of the day. But now you cut that down because now we're back to the 360 era, like where we not on the Xbox side, they're not necessarily getting third-party exclusives like they had during the 360 generation, but just having those games, those types of games that you were just talking about, Mav, the Souls games coming. Look, last night I just fired up an Atlas game on my Series X, a brand new IP from Atlas.
I was playing it today before
it's a second.
The show.
I saw you were streaming that earlier. In Soul Hackers 2, coming to Xbox the same day it goes everywhere else. That's the kind of stuff that we've always talked about, even if this isn't the biggest fan base, because a lot of those people automatically went to Sony, especially last gen when Xbox wasn't getting anything. Having those games come back now, along with a Wolong, and that kind of stuff. Eliza P coming into Game Pass obviously is huge. Having that diversity within your ecosystem, which is something that Microsoft has been pushing, but having the players like a Atlas show up onto the platform finally, having Team Ninja come back to Xbox again, that is a real difference maker. We may not think about it all the time that way, and a lot of people dismiss those things, but it does have an impact when people go to make these decisions.
Yeah.
And this generation is going to be much, much more even keeled when it comes to that stuff, because people can't afford to ignore Xbox anymore outside of Square Enix. And we saw what their profits weren't, right? We saw what was happening over there. Whereas the people who have come on board, Bandai Namco, are looking really great.
They finally gave me
audiences.
my refund. I can stop saying fuck them.
Did they?
Yeah. Nice.
Yeah. Back to Bandai Namco. Yay. Holy shit, Jasper. Congratulations, man. That's huge. That wasn't for anybody who doesn't know in the chat, Jasper's not talking he got like a $60 refund because he bought a regular game. No, this was for a collector's edition. This was what, two bills?
Yeah.
Oh my God, man. Thank you, Bandai Namco. Now Jasper's back on the train. So when you go to acquisition season again, Bandai Namco will be okay with Jasper.
Yeah.
But no, I think it is fantastic. It's a great point, Mav. It's a great topic to bring up because again, you got to look at it from that satellite view, that RTS view, as Steve says, to see that, because all the time we're hyper focused on AAAs. We're always hyper focused on first party. We're always hyper focused on exclusives. We're always doing that kind of stuff. And then when we get away from that, then it's the Call of Duties, then it's the Maddens. But there's just all these other games that add up to a big deal when you look at it at the end of the day, whether or not they're on your favorite platform or your platform of choice. It makes a big difference. So I think that is a great point to bring up for sure.
Yeah, I think it's not. Here's the thing, like maybe some Xbox fans don't want to hear this or whatever, but like it's not just about the games that we already do like and we know that is coming to the platform that we're used to playing, that we know they're already making. They're making all these RPGs and first-person shooters and all this stuff and, getting all this awesome stuff. But in order to grow, Xbox needs to make games that don't necessarily appeal to the people that are already own the systems and or invest in the ecosystem. They got us. You know what I mean? But they're trying to grow beyond that. And so when there's a lot of people that are like, who likes those games? Or like, why would they do that? Or like, the JRPGs, or like, who likes JRPGs? Or who likes
nobody
those games?
Xbox plays
nobody
JRPGs.
Nobody at Xbox plays those games. Why would they make those? Because they want those people to buy an Xbox, or they want them to sign up for Game Pass, or they, without those types of games, you lose a market of gamers. You don't. The same argument we had yesterday with the RTSs and stuff, Pong. It's like you got to foster that audience.
It's one big buffet at the end of the day. And you may say, well, shit, today the buffet doesn't have chicken, or today the buffet doesn't have ham or steak, or whatever you want to say. Well, that's no big deal to me because I've already got what I need over here. But it might be a big deal to the restaurant that has that buffet that they're out, because there might be people that come to that buffet just for that chicken, or just for that ham, or just for that steak. And they might not show up that day once they find out that stuff's not there, right? It is a big deal. And it's an easy analogy because it just fits. It works, as Todd Howard would say. But it is something that we don't talk about all the time, but as you and I and everybody, I think, on this panel at one time or another on some shows have talked about, cultivating a fan base, it's not just about Xbox's side of things, it's about all the publishers that for an entire generation ignored Xbox, and sometimes rightfully so. I don't blame the publishers all the time. Xbox wasn't in a good spot, but at the end of the day, those publishers, like a Square Enix being stubborn, they're going to lose out. Whereas the Bandai Namcos, the Atlases that finally embrace Xbox, they're going to start cultivating a fan base. It doesn't happen overnight. So yeah, it may cost you more to put that game on Xbox than you might see up front. But that doesn't mean by the third game that you put out, you've cultivated a fan base, and all of a sudden you start seeing more profits out of it, right?
Sequels are often more popular than the original sales-wise. And sometimes you got to have that something that grabs that interest, and people start talking about it. It has a good lasting memory. And the time they announce that next game, it's like, oh, everybody, holy shit, it's coming back. And people are like, yeah, I like that, because everybody's acting really excited about this, and I don't know why, but I like it too. And all of a sudden it grabs...
Perfect example, man. Scarlet Nexus from Bandai Namco, brand new IP.
Yeah.
Do you think when they announced Scarlet Nexus 2, there isn't a whole group of us over on Xbox that got to play that game now that are going to be like, heck yeah, Scarlet Nexus 2?
Yeah.
Absolutely. Of course there is. That's
or whatever, what game they make from the same team, right?
Yes.
Or the next game like that even, right? Same with like what PlayStation had. When Demon Souls came out originally, it's like, what is this? You know what I mean? And it wasn't like the most popular game on the planet, but now this whole genre has been birthed because of this, and games like Bloodborne and it was turned into Elden Ring, right? Which is a phenomenon, right? Which is multi-platform, as you can play it everywhere, you know. But like they were doing a long time. There was like Dark Souls over here, Demon Souls over there, or whatever, and now it become this huge genre, and Xbox has missed out on a lot of that genre, you know. And to have these games now come over to the ecosystem, not only just be available on the platform, period, but to have marketing behind it, to have Game Pass day one as a reason to play it here instead of the other place, is extremely strong. And those games that people said, you know, Xbox doesn't have what I'm looking for in Game Pass, I don't like those kind of games, right? Now, a lot of those people that had been saying that won't be able to say that when they got those kind of games they are looking for. Is there a specific game, Fuzzy, that out of those two that catches your eye more?
I think Liza P is one of those, but there's a couple other games out there that are coming to like Game Pass day one that I'm looking forward to, like, you know, with what do you call it? High on Life is one of them. But I think Liza P, even though I'm not really the Souls type player,
you're Pinocchio fan.
Give it a try.
Pinocchio fan.
Yeah. I mean that will work for me. But yeah, the overall aesthetic of it, I just want to give that game a try. Like much like I did with Elden Ring, although I don't think I'm going back to Elden Ring, but at least to give it a try, because there are certain like mechanics with I guess the different range of weapons you can have for that one arm, or different abilities for that arm. Just want to see kind of, you know, what they have as far as, you know, things you'll be able to pick up and stuff like that.
Over 1,000 different combinations for weapons, Fuzzy.
Jeez.
Yeah.
So that alone will probably hold me home for a good bit. It's just that I don't want to bang my head against the wall if I have to, you know, reclaim stuff I lost from getting killed by the boss or something like that. But yeah, that game looks amazing.
Yeah. And then you also have, I mean, another game that's interesting, is something that's different for the platform. We saw it at Gamescom again, was High on Life.
Yeah.
Right? It's another one that's different. You know what I mean? It's a shooter. You know what I mean? But it's like it's a different kind of thing. That's like it's gonna get a lot of attention when this game comes out. If for one reason or another, it's gonna get some attention. It's already getting a lot of attention today.
I was just gonna ask, did you see people complaining already? And people thought that Conquer would just slide on in and be fine. People are complaining about High on Life already. I'm literally underneath the IGN post today. You should have seen the comments. I went through the comments. I was shaking my head. We have become such a weak society. Oh my God, man. It's unbelievable.
It's even worse. Twitter blocks that. Like, if you posted that video about the shootable kid.
Are you serious?
Yeah, I made a post earlier. Like, I wanted.
It's not even a kid. It's 30.
That's confirmed.
It's a 30-year-old.
Yeah, I know, but because of that, Twitter made it so you couldn't like or comment on whoever posts that video. So you have to quote tweet it to say anything. I'm like, Twitter, are you serious? Come on.
Yeah.
But hey, you could say all kinds of other crazy things on Twitter, but something saying fresh meat.
You can post porn on Twitter. Jesus Christ.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah.
Like
that game is definitely going to rub some people the wrong way, but you know what? I give them a E for effort for at least, going that extra, well, not really going that extra mile, but sticking to like that same satire and comedy that they do for Rick and Morty, and putting it in the game. I'm going to be all for it. Can't wait, man.
I knew this was going to cause a lot of controversy when I saw that. When I saw it at the Xbox demo, and I was like, okay. And then they immediately confirmed that, don't worry, it's a 30-year-old. There's no shooting kids in our game, right? They went out and immediately said that, right? But guess what? A lot of people didn't watch that. They're just seeing this clip that's shared, this shortened clip, and they're taking it out of context into what it is, and they're just assuming the worst, obviously, right? And they're like, oh, this is going to be a game about this only, right? And it's like,
IGN had some extended coverage of that, and like you go and meet his mom, and what they showed in IGN, it was fucking hilarious.
I need to go. Like the thing is, the people that saw the game or playing the game, it's all been positive, right?
Yeah,
it's all been extremely positive stuff, and then people are like dying laughing, thinking this shit's hilarious. Like cutting out assholes and eating them is funny in a game, right? Like that's funny when something you're holding in your hand says it wants to cut out an asshole and eat it. Like it's like just like what? That's a random, insane nonsense that. And I was telling Pong this, if that's what we saw at Gamescom, what they felt comfortable showing on the Xbox stage in a demo for like masses, what is going to be in the actual game when we get to play this thing, right? Like that's why I think it's going to get a lot of attention, obviously, and it's going to be like kind of one of those like, oh, have you played High on Life? Oh my, you guys got to check this out. It's another one of those games that's a little edgy that's going to bring some attention that makes it not just the typical, experience for Game Pass.
Why do I get the feeling that when this game came through the Xbox offices, that Phil and Sarah were on one side of the table and they were like, yeah, no. And Greenberg was on the other side, absolutely pounding the table, saying, I will quit if this game is not on Xbox. I just get that feeling.
Yeah.
It could be. It's interesting, man. Like, what were you saying, Fuzzy?
Yeah. No, I was going to say I would love to be a fly on the wall when they had that demo for the team, because I agree with Pong. It was probably somebody like Greenberg and a few others. Like I could see Stein. They'd be like, "Come on,
Steineken, Jesus."
You see our memes on Twitter. Come on, this is perfect for us.
Right.
Yeah, I will say that's interesting though, because this company, like originally they had Trover Save the Universe, and that was originally a PlayStation exclusive for like a year, and then it came to Xbox. So we're getting that flip again of more devs coming over to Xbox and kind of having a name there.
A lot, yeah. That's a good call out, Jasper. I mean, it's not, and again, that comes with market share. One, right? U.S. is the biggest market, and they're really close in the U.S. and they have. Now, it costs more for a lot of these publishers to skip Xbox than it does to like bring out the game on Xbox. Like, okay, what are we going to lose out on, right? If we don't do this, right? And you still see it randomly with stupid situations. It just makes no sense whatsoever. And there was a game recently that we were talking about that was announced for everything, and it's skipping Xbox. I can't remember which one it was, but. It's like, why do they even...
Tactics Ogre?
Yes, that. Right. And it comes more with some reason Square, you know, and the game before that did the company that did that before a lot was Atlas, right, as well. But they guess what, you know, that Sega Xbox partnership is showing fruits
Well, they own
already.
Sonic
Well,
now. So.
yeah, I was just gonna say they own Sega now. So
Yeah.
But
according to Bloomberg,
that variety, man, it's night and day over last gen, dude. It's night and day, and they're getting something for everybody. Psycho out of Wolong and Lies of P, did one of those like catch your attention, or do you like those kind of games at all, or no?
Oh yeah, both actually. The Wulong, when we saw it at E3, when I saw that and Team Ninja's logo came up, I was like, oh hell yeah,
Yeah.
Finally, you know, that game intrigued me a lot, and I was like, oh buddy, I'm gonna be hooked on this game. Liza P, did not know too much about it until the Gamescom, and that looks very interesting. I'm like, because when you're like, it's a Pinocchio, I'm like, Pinocchio, but then when I saw the gameplay, I was like, oh, this ain't just like fucking Pinocchio, you know. I was like, I don't know what I was thinking, and then until I saw the trailer, I was like, ooh, this is gonna be interesting.
They had a extended show at Xbox for that game, and they kind of talked about like how the lies, like, you know, Pinocchio is like famous for lying, like how that's going to play into effect with the game, like what you lie and what you say in this game is going to affect how the game ends and stuff. And like he said, there's a twist. He didn't say what the twist was, but the more you lie and stuff like that, it can change you or something like that. He didn't go into what the twist was because he didn't want to spoil it, obviously, but he said look out for that when the game comes out.
Yeah, that does look interesting. Now, is Wulong is the one that had the meter where you the harder the
better you do, the harder the enemies get.
Yes.
Yes.
That
And the worse you do, your
very-
meter drops down. Yeah.
That is that's a different take, and that is very interesting. So I just want to play these fucking games. That's all.
Is that like an accessibility thing, trying to make these Souls games like as hard as hell as they can be, but also as more welcoming for?
I think so.
audience?
And there's no stamina in Wolong 2, which is a big win for me because I hate the stamina bars.
Yes.
And so that's a big win. That's why Wolong today, after all the information came out, kind of moved ahead of Liza P. I'm going to try both, obviously. Again, I think Liza P might be 2 souls for me, but we'll find out. I like the idea of the weapons, and the story is fascinating to me. I want to see the story in that game. But Wolong moved ahead because I think it is going to try to blend that accessibility, but still give the hardcore players a reason to have a challenge, right? And I think that that's what they're going for here. That's why they're trying these different mechanics. You're going to be able to jump in it, all that kind of stuff. It actually gave me the feeling of more Ninja Gaiden when I was watching the action. It leans more that way. And I talked to Steele because I haven't played Sekiro, and Steele said it is a combination to him when he's watching it, and some of the stuff they said today, it is a combination between Sekiro and Ninja Gaiden, which they kind of mentioned before, but I like the more action style. So I think Wolong might wind up being my favorite out of these two for sure.
Yeah, it looks fine. I'm playing the gameplay trailer actually on the stream right now, and again, and I've seen it. It was weirdly, it wasn't at one of the major shows, right? If that was at one of the bigger shows, I think this thing would have exploded, but it just kind of just dropped a trailer today, right?
But they did the actual trailer instead of just the announcement. You mean at the Bethesda showcase?
Well, I'm talking about at like Keeley show, opening night live, or at even at the Future Game Show. When people are looking for the trailers at Gamescom.
I got you.
If this had dropped then, like, I think it would have been everywhere, like kind of like Lies of P was. Lies of P like was trending on Twitter, exploded, right? And I feel like this one, they just kind of dropped this trailer today, kind of randomly. And I've seen a lot of hype about it. I've seen a lot of excitement about it from people that really like Souls games and like these action oriented games and stuff as well. And so it's gaining a lot of hype, especially because we didn't see gameplay the first time. Yeah. But I feel like it should have been at one of those shows. It would have been even more of an impact.
Oh, for a fact. But I'd say I love these like Chinese mythology style games, and I like I've always been a JRPG fan from back from Nintendo, Super Nintendo. I've always been a JRPG fan. So these games just Wulong screams to me more than Liza P. But like they're both coming in Game Pass. I'm going to try them, but Wulong is that it just takes it. And the same thing with the other game that was announced, where winds meet. Oh my god,
Yeah.
that's another one that I was just like, holy shit. But yeah, it's just one of those, like, that's what I grew up on, and that's what we're talking about. People just it's just one of those games that just really, really intrigued. I mean, they're both beautiful looking games, Liza P,
gorgeous
and Wulong.
graphics, really. I mean, especially the graphics on Liza P was like, whoa. I have that on the screen right now, and you can see the blue-faced lady with that half smirk. It's just amazing stuff that they're doing. And where is the studio out of? Liza P?
Korea, I think.
Korea?
Yeah.
Man, there's so much talent there. Phil was talking about this with like engines, or somebody was talking about it. I don't remember who was, about the engines being like really a strength, with working on technology and stuff in a lot of these other territories, and getting in the ground floor of that, because we're seeing a resurgence or a surgence of development talent in these other territories. And when Phil was in that interview, he was like, we need to be in the ground floor of these kind of areas. We want to be around the world here, because that's something where if you get in kind of early on this, you know what I mean? You have more of a strength, and you have more of a partnership that you develop and foster over a long period of time. And if you see games looking like this, like we're seeing on the screen right now, coming out of those areas where people were kind of overlooking or not really paying attention to before, now all of a sudden they are, right? Like Wukong, Mac Myth Wukong out of China, right?
Black Myth.
Black. What did I say? Black
Myth.
Mac Myth Wukong.
I'm mid-stroke right now.
Namkai Bando. Black
Myth
Myth. I can't speak. Black Myth Wukong.
Wukong. Yes.
Yeah.
That's out of China. Yeah.
Yeah. It's just like people has so much hype about it, and it's like a studio nobody ever heard of before, right? Lies of P now. So much hype about it.
Yep.
Studio never heard before.
First Descendant, another game out of Korea. Again,
Oh my gosh.
Steele and I have been talking
amazing.
about Korea forever. That we even said that, like, if Phil wants to make a mark, he makes a move in Korea before he even makes a move in Japan.
Yeah.
I know Japan's like the special place, and obviously it's got a big piece of Phil's heart, and he loves the Japan, and he respects the history of the industry there. But Korea has got some incredible talent coming out of there right now. They are doing stuff that we have not seen yet, pushing the industry, pushing these
Crossfire
engines.
X.
No, not Crossfire X.
That's a bit of a different story. That's more of a mobile game that kind of exploded
that came
over there.
to mobile game that came to consoles and to PC. But no, there is a big market over there that's exploding right now, and China's harder because, again, you get into the politics of China and all everything that's involved. But right next to Japan, you got Korea. Again, South Korea is right in line with the Western side of things. Much easier to do business with over there. Get in, find some of these talents, find some of these smaller studios that, like Mav just said, are popping up out of nowhere and seemingly being able to push these engines and doing stuff that we don't see in the West, except for some of the top tier teams over here. Get in there on that ground floor and make your move over there in Korea. I'm all for it. So yeah. I'd love to see it.
Oh, yeah. And that's the thing, is that people are not paying attention personally, is that these Korean teams that are coming out just out of nowhere all of a sudden, and Xbox builds a relationship with them, that will bring Japanese developers, like, because if they see a bunch of Korean games and they are striving very well on Xbox ecosystem, you'll see the Japanese games come over, and then you'll start seeing, maybe Square might not skip that next game. They're like, like if if Sony doesn't buy them, and they will, and they'll come over, and then we'll see that, like, oh wow, we'll have like Xbox has, we're seeing like, we know that we've been talking about acquisitions and things like that, but imagine getting some of these Korean teams and building this Xbox East studios. That's just something that is very, very, very exciting as a gamer, because we're going to get games that we normally don't think like you're not interested or haven't played because you're either only been on Xbox. Now you're going to get to experience them, and you're going to be like, wow, these games are freaking awesome. Love them. They look gorgeous. And if they're mostly actual gameplay and they don't, all cutscenes like a lot of how the games used to be back in the day, they kind of stay away from the cutscenes, and they blur the line. You can't tell which is a cutscene and what's gameplay. That's just a special task that these developers are going to be able to do that they haven't been able to in the past, and it's just an exciting time as a gamer.
Yeah, for sure. I'm putting Where Winds Meet right now on the screen, and that looks like a Ghost of Tsushima that meets meets Wolong. I don't know. Like, there's so many different types of genres. This looks like it kind of crosses over. It's got that fantasy action, historical genre, but it's also kind of got the art style, kind of a Ghost of Tsushima and stuff. And it's about art. It's an RPG. Amazing stuff coming.
Yeah, I get the Ghost of Tsushima with Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon.
Yeah, that's a great call out. Yes, 100%, dude.
Yeah, and I remember that movie. That was fucking phenomenal. I loved it, and I just can't. And this is another game I can't wait to play.
Yeah, this stole the show for a lot of people actually at the at opening that live. There was surprisingly at Gamescom overall, guys. There was a lot of good new games shown. Right. Yeah. That kind of were like, whoa, I've never heard of that before. And a lot of them were announced for next year.
It's gonna be unbelievable.
What are we gonna do about this? I don't even know. I'm gonna have to
vacations, I guess.
Find a McDonald's and just steal their power and live on the McDonald's, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah. McDonald's Wi-Fi sucks. I can't do that. I get near a McDonald's drive-thru, my phone immediately stops working.
We just get a gaming house together. We're all share our rent and bills, and so we all can just game 24/7.
Yeah.
You still got to make income.
Yeah.
Hey, that's why we have OnlyFans, folks. No.
What?
Why we? That's you. You posting those foot pictures all the time, psycho. And stop asking me to give my opinion on them. I don't need to see the DM. I just see them in the DMs. Okay.
Hey, there's no shame in my hobby.
We got another one up here, guys. Atlas Fallen. It's still a show for a lot of people too. These games, who are these developers making these amazing looking games coming out of nowhere, left and right? It's like. That's one thing that always kind of made me call the whole monopoly talk and gaming bullshit period, because you have new companies formed all the time. For example, one of them is Amy Hennig's company is has this new big deal, and they're doing all these big licensed games, and it's they're not really known for gaming, right? But you have all these startups too, all these brand new developers or developers that have only done a little bit here and there before. Now they're taking this big leap and making these huge big ass games and stuff. And meanwhile, you have people out there saying that, Xbox is going to get a monopoly because of this or that. And it's so ridiculous to see when you see so much talent coming out of the woodworks all over the damn place, right? Any one of these games, any single one of these games could launch one of these studios or small publishers to become a massive deal, right?
Yep.
Any one of them. It depends on the game that you put out, the quality you put out, how much attention it gets, how popular it gets. And guess what? We could see a publisher that right now is just we kind of talk about them every once in a while, or like we see their names show up every once in a while, but all of a sudden they're like as big as EA or as big as Activision Blizzard ever was, or as big as this or that, because of one game can change an entire company. And that's one of the things that makes gaming really special, because a small team can apply for like ID at Xbox or something, and get their first project off the ground with help from the studios and stuff. It's about the talent you put out there, the creativeness that you have. And then guess what? You make good money on that. You go bigger the next time. And then you put out something that gets mass appeal, right? And all of a sudden you're like this team of like 50 or something, right? Then you put out something that's really big, like next. And all of a sudden you're this massive studio, right? This happens all the time. It absolutely happens all the time. It's crazy.
Yeah, we were kind of talking before the show where like how Activision got bought up and Embracer's buying a bunch of stuff up. There's a gap in like that's forming with publishers where it's so easy for a new company to come in and just fill that. Like we can see the next Bungie over the next few years or something come out.
Oh yeah, and the same thing with Square Enix if Sony decides to buy them. Any one of these, Wulong or Atlas Fallen, any of these developers, Liza P could be the next Square, because this is a lot of these games are from what I believe are their first games, and just look how amazing they are. So to sit there, and that's why it's like, it's beloved franchises, like IPs like Final Fantasy and your Dragon Quest and things like that people love. But guess what? These could be the next Dragon Quest, Final Fantasies that could fill that gap for a lot of these, for a lot of gamers that, so it's just amazing.
And this goes back to Psycho, right? To the accessibility to the tech and how the tech is changing and closing the gap between small studios and the largest studios in the world. And I think that shows here. Again, Liza P, for anybody who doesn't know, that's the team that did Blessed Unleashed. If you guys remember that game.
Wow.
That's the team that did that. This is their first single player. They didn't have like big multiplayer game, Blessed, which failed miserably out the gate, and they actually
oh no, Pong,
we lost Pong mid-sentence. He was making such good points. Do you want to finish his points, Fuzzy?
I know he was making mention as far as like they did Blessed Unleashed, but yeah, any of these studios could step up and take the rings from any of the existing studios that are out there now. Like the whole deal with like even looking at like Xbox Studios, the guy, although this has a little bit of controversy in it as well, the guy that originally founded Undead Labs, after the deal, he left. We already know what the reasons were, but he went and already started his own studio. And similar things have happened with people leaving, or when EA closed. What was the one that did the original Dead Space? I can't remember the name of the studio, but those guys.
Visceral.
Yeah, the people from Visceral wound up starting their own studio, and that's the team that's making Callisto Protocol. So anytime there's this consolidation of these top tier studios into a particular publisher or platform, either some of the existing employees step up and say, hey, you know what, I want to do my own thing, or somebody else is like, hey, like you guys are saying, there's a gap, we're going to kind of fill that gap. Like if you saw the one guy that started started Naughty Dog, that was kind of like his whole deal was like not necessarily trying to make a game that's like a Halo killer or like a Forza killer or something where you target that specific game, but just kind of fill that gap. You can always go against it, but just have your own spin or deal to it. Don't just put like the bullseye on like the top dog. Focus on what you do best, but fill that niche, and you will probably draw people either away from that bigger game, or you'll create your own community around that game. And a lot of these studios have that capability. So
yeah, nicely done. But you picked up exactly where Pong left off. If you contended it, continued it.
I think the same thing happened to Psycho that week. I could pull up Zoom. I was still hearing you guys, and I was still moving in the Zoom app on my side. Like I could see you guys. Like
it's
perfectly.
weird, isn't it?
Yeah.
But
Like
that
everything was
happened
still
on
there.
that happened on Restream to Psycho. So it's weird.
Weird, strange. Yeah, because I was still here. I was like talking. I'm like, what are you guys talking about? I'm still here. I'm like, what's going on?
Like,
So
what?
Bless Unleashed. What about it?
Less than leash. Yeah, no. All I was saying is that to all your points that you guys are bringing up as far as these companies, and again, Jasper, you brought up the fact that the leaving big holes that need to be filled, and these smaller companies could be the next, Activision Blizzard. Again, that's exact quotes that I always bring up from Jack Trenton, who did an interview. That's the exact same thing that he said when they asked him about this acquisition season and what he thought of Activision Blizzard being gobbled up by Xbox. And he said, it's great for the industry. It's great. This is a normal part of a healthy industry, and that there's the next Activision Blizzard could be one of the 10, 15, 100 companies, whatever it takes to fill that spot left by Activision Blizzard, could be the next one. That's how this works. And again, in a healthy industry, this is exactly what you want to see. But no, my point is that these smaller teams coming out of nowhere. We're just talking about this whole collection of games coming out of nowhere, seemingly from studios that we've never heard of before, looking absolutely freaking amazing. I mean, look at the upgrade Dead Island 2 has gotten now after becoming vaporware for a long time. The technology, the accessibility that we have with Unreal Engine 5, Unity, with all the work they've done, and now that the consoles have come up to spec and are alongside, PCs in a lot of different ways, we're actually seeing this talent that maybe we've never heard of, or maybe doesn't have a whole lot of experience, be able to take advantage of all this tech and actually come out with something that looks like it was made by one of the big guys, right? That's how this generation is going to move forward. That's why I said the gap between indies and AAA is getting smaller and smaller. Yes, you'll have those teams of indies that still make those games that are retro style, that are simplistic, take a different art direction that we haven't seen before, that maybe doesn't give it that AAA quality. But you got the other teams that do want to push themselves, and all of a sudden they've got access to the same tools, the same resources, with the help of like ID at Xbox, whatever the case may be, to go and do this. And it doesn't take a gigantic team anymore. And so again, we're just going to see more and more high quality as this generation goes on, from all different types of places. And that's why the emerging markets, like Phil was talking about in his interview, and making sure that they have a footprint in those emerging markets wherever they are throughout the world, is so important. It's why they started a startup studio to help people down in Africa, some developers down there, get up and running, because you just don't know where the next big thing is going to come from these days. And pretty soon, we've heard Phil talk about the cloud development tools and all that kind of stuff. It's going to be single gamers like you, me, Mav, Jasper, Psycho, Fuzzy, sitting in their houses, and all of a sudden have a great idea, and the tools are going to be so good, we're probably going to be able to sit down and figure out a lot of it, and maybe even come up with a game ourselves that gets published somewhere. That's how easy they want to make this, because man, we are going to see some crazy good stuff.
It's like how everyone can just kind of like film a movie on their iPhone today.
Yeah,
like that's
correct.
what they want to get to.
A lot of film, right, Jasper? Perfect example, right? We've seen a lot of movie makers start that way, right? The cameras have gotten so good on our phones that we can make small time little budget movies now, that before you would have had to have a gigantic camcorder, you would have had to have your buddy filming it, it would have looked like crap still, it would look like it's on a VCR tape. But now we get high definition, get 60 frames, 120 frame movies from your phone. Yes, that's exactly a great point, Jasper. And that's exactly where the game industry is going now. So this is an exciting time, let me tell you.
Yeah, especially with the ability with machine learning. People don't understand, like, that helps with the game development. What they're trying to use that with game development to help smaller teams do so much with with the assets and everything, like a background work. So it's awesome to see these smaller teams have these tools readily available, having ID Xbox, like Pong, you're saying, having the accessibility there, and Xbox nurturing a lot of these smaller developers, being able to make these really great looking games, and being that next best thing. and it's just it's a healthy environment for gaming, and it's what Phil Spencer wants, and that's his whole message, and that's what he's been trying to push.
Yeah. I actually think another good example of like what you guys are talking about is actually stuff like YouTube itself, right? And stuff, right? Because like back in the day, I'd be thinking about even trying to operate this or figure out what to do. Like I put images on a screen with graphics and like
Right.
equipment and buttons and stuff. Is like, what? I'm not capable of doing something like that. And you know, like, and so here we are sitting here today. We have 67 awesome people here just watching us right now talk about video games, right? And some of these YouTube channels and some of these things you see out there where these creators have their own avenue of making content, they look like TV shows. They look like crazy high produced things.
Channel, man. He's got some of the biggest graphics and stuff. You would need a full studio to produce that stuff back in the day. Now you can do it with a couple people. It's crazy.
You've seen people take these avenues of creation and become huge phenomenons. Like look at Mr. Beast, where for example, like one of the most famous people in the world now has like franchises of like different industries now, like across the world, because he started a YouTube channel doing stupid shit a long time ago and giving money away and stuff, right? Like they're making, you're right, they're making tools simpler and stuff where like, you know, these engines and things are kind of getting more simplified, and it's not necessarily it's going to be like crazy easy, but they have tools there to where it's like, okay, well, they're making it more user friendly and they got templates you can use and all this kind of stuff. And kids are learning to do some of these simple game design techniques and stuff at an early age now, right?
Yep.
So those kind of things get learned and processed, and over time it's going to grow. I'm not going to say that I'm ever going to be able to develop a game. I would love to, but I'm a freaking moron when it comes to technology, and my fat thumbs will make too many I's and O's mistakes, right?
You're gonna have AI helper with you, Mav, at some point, and the AI is gonna fill in all the blanks. The AI is gonna fill. Look at what AI is doing right now. With the artwork, right? We've seen the artwork explode. You look at that AI artwork. My God, man, it's scary. It's scary. That's what they're eventually going to have. And the AI is going to be able to generate procedurally games, right? Based upon your description. So AI is going to be able to help you work through all that.
Halo Infinite Forge is going to be making games within a game as well. Stuff like that. You got like Roblox out there. You got Fortnite Creative out there. You got things like this are going to breed this new type of thing where it's like, hey, there's this platform you can use. But I always go back to like, I'll toot my own horn a little bit. I got really into the Far Cry map editor back in the day. I used to make some kick-ass maps back on the original Xbox with Far Cry. And that was a blast because it was kind of like letting your creative juices flow and like making something in a game, right? And those tools were simple, right? Those tools were simple. And that was back 20 years ago or whatever, almost.
Yeah.
So they can, obviously, with everything they're doing now, with all this technology, Unreal Engine 5 and all these other things they're doing, it is going to get easier and easier. And again, one game can launch somebody to become crazy popular, right? Look at Minecraft,
Among Us,
Fall
Guys.
Yeah, 100%. All these things, just like multi-million-dollar companies now that have huge staffs and stuff that they just made like a small passion project, right? What were you saying, Psycho?
No, I was going to just say that picture creator that Pong was saying, that's all machine learning, and that's the stuff that they're doing within games. So it's it takes a little bit of time, but after a couple of years, that thing, it's going to be insane how quick these games are going to be developed now, and we're going to see a steady flow of great quality games. And I mean, nothing's bug free, but you're gonna, they can, instead of taking the man hours from working on backgrounds and assets, now they're working on other things. So they're prioritizing what they're doing so efficiently, and we're going to see the benefit. It's going to only benefit the gamers in the end. That's all.
And the AI is going to be able to run through the entire game a million different times in a million different ways through calculations, through virtually playing it in the cloud. The AI is going to be able to find all those bugs that we don't see until a million people get the game in their hand, and it's going to start cleaning up that for
That's a
the
good
devs.
call out too.
That's exactly what they're going to use. Along with everything else Psycho has brought up as far as machine learning goes, but that's how it's really going to help the devs, and that's why these games are just going to get even bigger, more expansive, more complex. As like Psycho just said, the devs can put more time into the actual creation process instead of all the busy work and the nonsense that the AI is going to be able to take over and clean up and create for them. So it's amazing time ahead. Next 10, 15 years, we're going to see some huge transitions in this industry. It's going to be incredible. Yeah.
Facts.
Well, one thing almost changed the industry today, but didn't. This morning, I missed it because I woke up a little bit later. I was like 30 minutes too late to the party, I guess, because there was about an hour almost where the world thought that Amazon was buying EA. It was blowing up. It was everywhere. I saw like Twitter after everybody made a comment on this thing. I was like, holy shit! Like, what's going on? Like, did I miss something huge again? Like ZeniMax Bethesda? And then I saw, false alarm. Their stocks even rose through the roof and then dropped back down because of a rumor that Amazon was buying EA, and then CNBC, I believe, or MSNBC came out and was like, nope, that's not. We haven't heard anything like that's being announced today. So, is there something that could have potentially caused this rumor to start at all? Not necessarily saying it's Amazon 100% or whatever,
Nothing
but
from the old rumors we had months ago.
Yeah, like I wonder where did this generate from? Because I honestly, guys, like I saw the fallout and everything, but because I found out it wasn't happening, I didn't.
Yeah, I was fucking super sus on this. I was fucking researching this whole shit.
Fuzzy was putting in stock requests. He was putting in his early stock requests. He was making some buys early.
Did you immediately go make a bunch of buys, Fuzz?
No, he didn't. Thankfully,
Steele said he started the rumor.
There's a website called like GLHF or something like that. I forgot what it was, but so they broke the story, and the writer from it is the managing editor at this place, and this place is a company that you like hire to like if you want to gain traction to your website or something like that, and they kind of work with US Today News, so it was kind of weird already. And it's a Swedish company, but I'm just like, no one's ever heard of this company. Why would you send like the biggest news story in the past like 6 months to them and not like Bloomberg or someone like that? It's like, I don't know. It just kind of seemed off, and especially the day after the worst PlayStation news we've had all year, it was just like, it just wasn't adding up logically to me. I was like, there's something not right here.
Have they come out and made a comment since then? That news source?
The writer came out and said that, yeah, I was wrong about it, but that doesn't mean I'm still wrong. It could happen like in a couple weeks. So, and US Today came out and said, our editor standards have like failed today or something like that. So they were like, we're reevaluating how we perform this task.
So realistically,
it costs a lot of people money.
Yeah, it'll cost a lot of people a lot of money, cause some stock fluctuation, which is never good, based on a rumor. But it sounds like this place could potentially have some connections where it is possible this guy heard something outside of the normal, sphere of major players that we would think that this would come from. So it is certainly possible. But no, I know what
articles
you're
were like Apex Legends like updates.
Yeah. No, and I get that. I get
it's
that,
also
Jasper.
like if you come out with something that big and you're trying to be a serious like publication, which it seems like they are, that's like almost like career suicide to come out with something like that massive and be that wrong about it. So there had to be something that they thought, at least, you know what I mean? Like, I don't think it's like it's not a hoax.
Whoever the source was that he got it from, like, faked his credentials like really well or something. Right. They just don't have enough like standards to like verify that. But
that could be something where like, oh, somebody DM'd them. Holy shit, this is happening, right? And he just like didn't do his due diligence to fact check, source check. But like something like that, like if you get huge news like that, like how do you necessarily source it or like fact check something? You know what I mean? Because nobody's supposed to know about it yet. The fact that it would be
You call
out
Jason
there,
Schreier and you ask him.
right?
I mean, the safe play there is just to hold it until like it's actually official, and then try to get it out that way. But like you're going to lose clicks. But it's like
Yeah.
The best thing I could think of is that, as far as my gut, we already knew that EA was talking to a few companies out there, and somebody probably watching the front door saw that, representatives from Amazon were meeting with people from EA again, or like a second time around. So they must have figured, oh, this has got to be the closing, or this has got to be, the deal being
Pong's
sealed.
froze again. Oh, there he goes. He just jumped.
Yeah.
Pong's frozen.
kind of
No,
like-
he's back.
He's back.
It was what was that? It was kind of like the news with Microsoft and Warner Brothers. Like they're like, oh, they're gonna buy them, and that was back in wherever, and then nothing came of it. So, someone I forget who jumped on the story with that. Just because they kind of had sit down meetings with I don't know if it was Phil Spencer and Warner Brothers, or was someone from Xbox or Microsoft talking with Warner Brothers, but it was something along the lines of that. 'Cause they were like, oh, we need to get on this, for the publishing, so they can be like, oh, we reported it first, and they kind of just jumped a little too soon.
Yeah.
So, if you're right, Jasper, if they said next week, so it's kind of just keep an eye out.
He wasn't like sure. He was just saying like he still believes it could happen. He just doesn't know like when now. That's just like,
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Oh, and it makes sense. It wasn't out of the realm of possibility.
Yeah.
It's a very real possibility. Like it would make a lot of sense. As it happened this morning. Everybody was like, "Oh, shit." Well, I guess Amazon's in now, right? So it is something that could happen anytime. We've talked about it. Amazon. They're going to do this. They got to make a move because the big publishers, they're getting pretty light now. There's not too many left that you're going to be able to buy up with real impact like that, like an Amazon would probably want out of a deal. But that would definitely place them on the map. I mean, that would be a huge move. So we'll see. We'll see.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that's probably what also led to like maybe this credibility is like because we've known EA was in the talks before. It's just
Yeah. But I think people are waiting for something to happen with EA because we've heard, like you said, Jasper, we've heard lots of different things. We've heard them. In fact, there was like news that they've actually approached like 3 or 4 different companies, right, about partnerships, with one of those being Comcast, actually, which was it CNBC? I'm sorry, but they actually came out and said that live on their program that their parent company had talks with EA, and that other people have had talks with them as well. We know about, because that has been that's come out from several different sources now, and I think they believe they talked to Microsoft before the Activision Blizzard deal was done.
they talked to Activision Blizzard, I think, too, didn't they?
Yeah.
Or Take-Two was one of them.
They talked to somebody else about a merger.
Yeah.
I don't remember who it was, and basically all the deals were either didn't happen or because of EA's wanting to have complete control, right? And they want to have control over a lot of things, and but they were looking for a merging partner, right? Amazon wouldn't necessarily be that situation, though, right? Amazon would be like an all-in, we're acquiring you, but that's why we thought like Microsoft would be a good fit, because they would be able to still operate within themselves and stuff like that, because that's kind of Microsoft's MO right now. But maybe Amazon would be a similar situation if Amazon would agree to that. Where Amazon is like, nobody really asked for that because they're not a gaming company, but they're starting to get into games, and the fear would be they just try and drive all the content to be exclusive to Luna, right? To make sure that they push that cloud platform forward, but maybe they would go still release all their games multi-platform to ensure that they still sell, to make sure it's not a huge catastrophe, right?
Well, yeah.
So
plus they would probably have to make some concessions, just like Microsoft is setting the rules right now for big publisher purchases. And Amazon is under even more scrutiny already from the DOJ and the FTC. So this would be like a Lena Khan hates Amazon, okay?
Yeah.
Hates them. This would be all out war. Like, I would not doubt, like, they would just say, nope, we're blocking this. We're going to court. Like, instantaneously, like, just make them fight it out in court, no matter how stupid or ridiculous it is. So, yeah, Amazon would have to play by some rules here as well if they want to make it, semi-smooth to get it to go through, because there's no way they would just allow them to do whatever they wanted to do after they've put so much pressure on Microsoft over Call of Duty and shit. So definitely would be interesting. That's what I was excited for, was the battle.
What is the likelihood you guys could think of a possibility of that being the home for them? Because I think something's going to go down
Amazon,
at some point with EA. At some point, something's going to happen with EA. They're actively shopping for somebody to either merge with them or acquire them. This is ongoing things. I've been doing it for almost a year.
The thing, though, is like, with Activision Blizzard out of the way, they're now the number one like publisher that's kind of like major in the West like that now. So like, do they just say, well, we're going to be on our own and just try to be that number one like even more now? Like, to say screw the sell and just like double down on themselves.
I think they see that money and they want to cash in while this consolidation thing is happening, and like part of it was a merger idea for them, and I think them doing that and remaining in control just makes them bigger. Right. And still even better. Right. So I think that's part of their aspirations with it. There's not a lot of companies that you can see that really happening with, because of their wanting to be maintaining control. Like, the thought of 2K would be crazy. Right. Like could you imagine 2K talk about sport, complete domination and control of the sports genre on
It's a monopoly
in gaming. Right. That'd be insane, but both of them have lots of different publishing branches.
Epic Games would, I think, be massive out of that. Like, EA and Epic Games come together. Like, I don't know, just having the Unreal Engine and.
How about Ubisoft? Because Ubisoft is looking for a partner too, but they're looking for a different kind of partner. They're looking for.
Tencent's got that in the bag. Tencent's working it.
I would say I hate the badmouth both companies because I like things about them, but those are like two boat anchors at the end of the day.
Yeah.
If it was Ubisoft and EA, I think they would drag each other down.
Oh yeah. Ooh, yeah, that would be not necessarily the best situation. I would say EA is actually like managed better than Ubisoft right now.
Yes.
Probably. Yeah. Like, here's the thing: EA has some bad practices within some of their games. With microtransactions and stuff like that, are some of the worst, right? Ubisoft's starting to do that a lot too. They have been for a while now, and they're getting worse with it, but not to the extreme that EA is, or even 2K also. But EA is also coming out with a lot of different genres, a lot of different variety in their games, and they have more of a focus on what they want to do.
And they've got Zampella. Zampella automatically puts them over the top. Just him by himself.
Right.
I would say if it was him as the CEO, then that would be a match made in heaven. But
right.
Maybe EA swoops in and gets the WB Games studios.
No, Jasper, stop. Debbie Downer, get out of here.
Don't put that in the atmosphere.
If you saw EA acquires WB Discovery, or WB Discovery merges with EA right now, that would be like everybody's nightmare. Right? Like, because of especially if they didn't have control, right? If they didn't have complete control, because what you see that WB Discovery doing, I could not imagine them even being more involved in the gaming space, right?
Well, EA wants control. WB gives them control over the gaming department. It's like, hey, you got some control now.
I'm just wondering.
It would be like, instead of Batman, you'd have Batboy, the reboot series. What? Yeah. I don't know. It makes sense in a way, but I just, considering how they kind of flubbed the whole Star Wars licensing, with the exception of Jedi Fallen Order. I mean, they've had to go back and, fix some of the egregious things that they were doing with Battlefront, but yeah, them with license stuff, even the sports things, it's like, come on, they've it's now to the point where they should just do season passes for each year instead of making a game, charging full price, and all it is a roster update. It's like, come on.
Yeah.
That's really all it is.
This year's Madden has been an improvement, I'll say, over
Yeah.
last year's. But the Ultimate Team stuff is still crazy. It's absolutely insane. Like with the way they try and get you to spend so much money, and it's all in your face and stuff. And it's a good game though, it's gameplay wise, right? Even if it's just the same game improved over year. I think at some point that's got to change. It's got to be like a subscription thing within Game Pass or something, or EA Play it is, right? If you get the EA Play Plus on like PC and stuff. But
oh yeah, I guess on PC. I was gonna say on Xbox you just get 10 hours.
yeah, I wonder how long that's gonna take for that next level of EA's thing to be on consoles as well. Because once Ubisoft Plus comes, like that'll be the premium out of those two. Man, I don't know. There's so many different fits I can see for EA, but I don't know, man.
I still get this feeling Apple would be, as much as I hate to say it, I think Apple would be the better home, especially considering their push to have more sports stuff on like Apple TV Plus or whatever it's called now. So I think EA in general would be a fit for them. I don't know if it benefits EA in the grand scheme of things. It definitely will help Apple with their arcade and everything that they're possibly looking to do if the whole console thing that's been rumored is still, greenlit. I could see EA being, their bigger get, so that way they can make a nice entrance. But outside of that, I would love for Xbox to grab them, but I just look back at some of the bad decision making that's been done there, and it's like, unless Phil is going to say, okay, Vince, take the chair, steer the ship right, and kind of not carry everything moving forward, but at least bring it into the modern era and stop focusing on the whole Frostbite engine. And we have a better deal with Epic, so Unreal Engine all you want. I think that would be a ultimate compliment to Microsoft Studios. But they're going to be stuck for at least another 6 months to a year possibly before they can even do that, if they can even really grab another publisher the way this whole thing is going.
I think they're going to be, Xbox is going to be looking more for like those other regions and people that are really strong in those, maybe. So man, I don't know, it's interesting. But like WB that's somebody needs to save their ass right now. It's like Amazon, maybe they backed out of the deal with EA to go buy WB Discovery. Like, I would be down for that at this point. Somebody needs to go completely save WB Discovery's ass. Like, because they're ruining everything right now. They canceled Cape Crusader. That was the coolest like Batman thing I've seen in a while that was announced, like yeah,
it's fucking bullshit.
They canceling everything, dude. When is this gonna go into the gaming? When is this trend of them cutting so much weight and canceling things left and right going to fall into their gaming studios?
I think it already has. It's just we're not hearing about, like, I think Wonder Woman's probably already canned and stuff like that. I think we're just getting what's already been in development long enough finally out, and then after everything's out, it's like they're going to move on.
Yeah, 100%. Because we you don't delay Hogwarts, you don't delay Suicide Squad and Gotham Knights if everything's going smoothly. If things are moving around, they're trying to figure out where to cut costs. They're trying to figure that stuff out, and they're seeing, what about another Realm's next game that Ed Boon's kind of put out there. Hey, something's up with that. There's too much smoke that I'm seeing. We're seeing
open a window, Psycho.
I know it's like big bong rips are coming. They're coming. Warner Brothers. There's something going on, and they're cutting stuff. We're seeing it with the movies. The games are following. Whatever was starting in development, I probably can't, because we haven't heard shit from Monolith. We haven't heard nothing from TT. We haven't heard there's so many studios that we haven't heard anything from in a great while. So there, truthfully, I just think that they're trying to get away from gaming, and I'm telling you, they're probably either going to sell off studios, possibly keep IPs so they could license them out to make money that way, or something, because it's just.
Didn't they made some comments recently like, oh yeah, or gaming's actually making us money, but I don't know if that was just to try and put out some words out there, because they didn't have anything released, so I don't know what they're making.
Well,
the Multiverses
again,
is doing good though, right?
Yeah.
The thing is, like, all their games that are coming out were developed under the previous company. Like, what they're doing now is like they haven't really put that much.
They
money
haven't
in, so of
funded
course
a
it's-
new project yet, really. That they've, man.
Well, they just offloaded, I think, the CW, but it's without the DC licensing. So
Yeah, but they also got like, so then they decided they're going to only release 2 movies this year, so they postponed other ones. And then in one of them, they moved all the way to Christmas next year, right? Like, so it's like, how bad are things? You know what I mean? That they actually have to make a movie and get the money from it to be able to fund another one. You know what I mean? It's like, to that point there, they don't have enough cash, they said, to make
it's mismanagement
projects.
stuff. Yeah.
Well, they haven't even had enough time to manage anything. It's just like there was no planning. Like,
Yeah.
it's like, oh shit, I guess we got to do stuff and fund things and pay people. Well, what is this?
it's
So
like-
like, we can't
it's like-
pay all these people and all this stuff and do all these things. What are we gonna do? Let's cancel that, get rid of that. We're gonna shed some weight here, guys. We're gonna be a nice, fine, efficient little thing. Well, why the fuck did we spend all that money then? We're
They
gonna
had $1 left over once they got done with the deal. It's like, what the fuck were we supposed to do with this $1?
Yeah. This is our future hopes and dreams right here in the palm of my hand. It's my $1, you know. I at some point, this is, if it hasn't already, it's going to affect the gaming companies, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you got NetherRealm there, you got WB Montreal, you got Monolith, you got lots of great franchises and IPs. You got Suicide Squad still being worked on.
Nasty.
Game Pass for $1. It's like somebody needs to. I just feel like somebody, like, and I'm worried now. Like, the longer this Activision Blizzard deal takes with the UK or whatever, was it the European group or the UK group? I don't remember which one it was. It says they want to take a longer look at it. EU. Yeah, the EU wants to take a longer look at it or whatever, which we all kind of anticipated. That's why I was like, a lot of us were thinking it would be later or early next year, right? Not going to necessarily meet that September thing that a lot of people were thinking, or this is all that was to me anyway.
I'm on about October, Rev.
Still,
October.
even with the EU is saying they're going to take a longer
Mhm.
look.
Yeah, because they have already been into it. So they've been into it. So I think October, it's going to be late October, early November.
Okay. We'll see.
And then you can give me $1. Just kidding.
Okay. I'll buy you a month of Game Pass.
Yeah.
So when will, if that deal goes through, do we think they make a play at WB Discovery or WB Games Studios? No.
I would like for them to. I think it just comes down to how battered they are after the FTC and the UK regulatory committees.
Yeah.
I think
we'll allow
they
this one, but
start
no
looking at
more.
studios. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's like they'll start looking at individual studios. And I think with the whole Discovery setup now, I think Discovery will be willing to part with the studios individually. They're still not going to have that licensing, except for maybe with NetherRealm for Mortal Kombat. But even that, considering the somewhat success of the movie and more success with the game, I don't know that they would really want to part with that completely, because they like to seem to do like partial partings or partial selling. When it came to like the CW most recently, it's like goes from 12% to 20%, and and then after a year they'll sell more of it off to them or something. So it's just they're kind of weird about all of their sales stuff right
I don't
now.
see Microsoft pursuing WB because I don't think they have anything to offer besides like movies, and Microsoft's not in that game. Like in the Phil
Yeah.
interview, he said they bought Activision for mobile and PC.
Mhm.
So I'm not sure like what WB has to offer other than just film, and we Microsoft's not in that game
Yeah.
Yet.
Yes.
Well, I mean, NetherRealm, I think the game studios at Warner Brothers is
They
what.
have enough games. They don't care about that.
No, well,
I think
they
it's
have,
just the particular IPs more so. than
to
anything.
have NetherRealms. They have NetherRealm with Mortal Kombat. They have Monolith in that Nemesis engine. TT, because that's E for everything games. That's what he wants more. Is it Avalanche that's in there too? That is that the same Avalanche that is working on?
No, Avalanche isn't part of WB.
Okay, so whoever else they have over there, there's some. It all comes down to, do they get dibs on IPs first?
They don't. The
so-
IP's not their play. They have enough IP. They don't.
Well, they don't have DC. They don't have, if they do something like another King Kong movie or video game or something along the lines, because Activision does a lot of licensing type games. So it just all depends on what Xbox. If they want variety, they bring the variety now.
Yeah.
Game Pass.
I think it would be something if Phil Spencer thought that he was saving them or whatever, like the studios potentially, because like he's got that in him to where he's like, okay, NetherRealm, I love those guys. I can't see them get fucked over by WB Discovery here. You know what I mean? We'll like bring them in, give them Killer Instinct, try and see if we can't get that Mortal Kombat IP, as well when they come over. Maybe they could pull something like that off, right? I don't know, man. I know Pong's enjoying the DMs right now.
Well, I got Steele in the chat coming in here. I don't know if he's drinking tonight or what. Coming in here with his craziness, and then I got your wife sending Harley Quinn. I mean, Britney Spears stuff in the DMs. No, listen. You know how much I want WB Discovery, man. You know how much I want the whole.
Yeah. You want the whole shabam.
I want the whole thing. I want Microsoft to enter the entertainment world. I want them in on everything. I just don't think it's going to happen right now. Like I said, I think that they're going to do the small studios that were kind of held up because of the Activision Blizzard deal. Those will get announced fairly quickly. And I think those will get done. And then I think that, again, Phil's comments the other night kind of, solidified this for me when she asked him about, the worldwide stuff and if he was happy with where they're at. And there was no hesitation from Phil at all. It was absolutely not. We're not happy. We got to have, our footprint in more places around the world. And that's why I really think the next big publisher comes from the East somewhere, whether it's Japan, whether it's Sega, and they already own Sonic, who knows, but whatever it is, I think that's where they go next to a big publisher, because I just think it's too important to their goals overall, the 2 billion, 3 billion people. I think Phil's pretty satisfied with what he's got in the West right now. Again, WB Discovery is probably my number one wish list if they were going to buy the whole thing. I want that badly. I just don't think it's in their plans. I really don't at this point.
Maybe CD Projekt Red, because it's not fully in the West, but it's not fully in the East, so it's kind of that middle ground.
Yeah. And I said Sony would go after CD Projekt Red because it would fill a need. I think CD Projekt Red is ripe for purchase right now, and they come with GOG, which is the perfect launcher for Sony. That's why I've always said that. I would be happy with it. Don't get me wrong. I would be extremely happy with it. They would control almost 95% of the entire Western RPG, divisions at that point. They would control everybody outside of BioWare and a couple places like that. So I'd be happy with that. But I really think that the publisher side of things, and I hear what you're saying, Jasper, because Phil's talked about the European stuff, and they talked about
and you just kind of like slowly branch over, like you start in Europe and then you kind of work your way over,
And there was rumors that there was a Polish studio at one time. I always thought it was People Can Fly that they were looking at. But I think with the Activision Blizzard deal, because Activision has so many studios worldwide as well, I think that kind of covers everything they need. And that's why I think they just go directly into the East, Japan, Korea, whatever the case may be. And I think they make that happen. So that's where I'm at with it. We'll see. But the acquisition season is not done, folks. No, no. You could hear it in Phil's voice the other night on the interview. They were absolutely not done.
Yeah,
they're going after more.
He's wants this deal to get done fast, probably.
That's the other funny thing we did bring up last night about the interview, Mav. I totally forgot about this until we got off, and I was eating last night after the show. Was when she asked him, or she said, so. The word is that you can make all the deals yourself. Right, you don't have to get permission from Sony.
Feels like well, it depends on the amount,
Yeah, he goes, well, no, that's not. And he goes, well, it just kind of depends on the amount. That was incredible. So we do know Phil does actually have the ability for certain deals to get done. Otherwise, he said they do.
Or he's the one that's he's hunting for those, and he brings the final decision to them. Like, hey, look, this is what the benefit is. This is what it's going to do for us. Can I get a go ahead on this thing?
Yep.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yep. So that was funny though. I was cracking up on that one.
What's the next? All right. So let me flip it and put it into this perspective. Okay. You have the whole world of studios out there, right? A lot of them want to be acquired. Okay. And this Activision Blizzard deal closes. We already know what Phil's sights are on. Who is the target? Who is the target? Like, what it was the number one thing you would think that he could potentially go after? Because it's up now. Remember, a lot of this comes from his thinking, growing the Xbox ecosystem, things that they need, right? Things that they need, not just necessarily cool things, right? What's the number one thing that they go? Who is it that feels that need the most specifically?
I think Nexon. They make a shit ton of mobile games. It's an Eastern publisher, so
right. And they have a lot. They're growing. They have a lot of cool stuff that they just keep announcing, right?
Correct.
Yeah. Mistwalker makes a lot of mobile games as well, and they used to make Blue Dragon. That's on the 360.
Are they independent? Mistwalker, that is not part of another group at all, right?
Yeah, they're independent.
And Nexon, it's an interesting point, Jasper, and I like it because Nexon used to be based in South Korea too. So, and now they're in Japan. So you kind of get the combo platter, right? Because they're going to have connections within South Korea. They can now have the connections within Japan. They're a player there. They're publishing a lot of big games. They got a lot of studios that are working with them right now, especially the ones that we kind of saw. I think they must have had between games during Gamescom, Nexon had maybe 2-3 different games in there at least. So they're an up and comer. So that's interesting. That's interesting.
Well, they have Warface, right?
Is
Warface
made
Nexon?
by a Canadian company? I don't know if Nexon owns them though.
Maybe.
Or Warframe. I'm thinking Warframe. You said Warface is.
Oh,
right.
I was thinking. Okay.
You think of Warframe?
Yes. No, they're not Warframe. I don't think they're Warframe. I think they made it. Okay. They made Lawbreakers. They published Lawbreakers. Let's check that one. I'm gonna go to their website. Yeah, Warface
I'm on
shooter.
Wikipedia right now. Got like DNF Duel from Arc System Works. They've worked with them. FIFA Online, Titanfall Online, Dynasty Warriors Unleashed.
That's something called Darkness Rises.
Yeah.
Like a mobile game. Oh, I'm like where's their I'm thinking I'm looking at Nexon's actual studio. I need to look at their publishing side.
Yeah, their publishing side. You know, I still think that Sega is the most obvious because it does cover a lot of different aspects, and they've got such a great relationship, and it would be so easy to turn Sega into Xbox East. It just it would be the closest thing to another ZeniMax deal with a Japanese publisher, for how close they are and how many ties they have together and how long they've worked together. I think that Sega is the obvious play. I know it's not the most exciting to a lot of people. It's exciting to me for a lot of different reasons, but I still think Sega is the easiest one to get done. Now that they've divested themselves of the arcade side of Sammy Holdings and all that kind of stuff, I just think Sega makes so much sense. It really does.
Yeah. I agree with that. That's a huge acquisition though.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that would be like another massive headline splash, but their ties run deep.
Their ties run deep.
If there's any Japanese publisher company that would make that kind of move, right, it may potentially be a Sega, right?
Was it Bloomberg that
So
had
they
that fruition about the home of Sega, home of Sonic?
yeah.
Yeah. Yep. That was a
Yeah, that
error.
was a weird one, man.
Yeah,
And they
they
still haven't walked it back.
No. That was weird and strange. All right, guys, let's get out of here. Hey, everybody in the chat, you guys rock. We've been with us the whole way through. Amazing energy as always, and we had a blast today. A lot to talk about. We got onto Sony some more. If you want to hear more thoughts on that, check out Pong and I's show last night. We ended up having BitCloud Gaming hop in with us, and we were on the PlayStation price increase for probably about an hour and a half, 2 hours total. Absolute like crazy fun last night. A long show. Infinite Umbra in the chat dubbed it as PM in the AM instead of PM in the PM.
Yeah, we haven't had that since we did. I was thinking back, man. We actually did have the longer show. Didn't we go 5 during last year?
Because we had a live stream that we did with PM in the PM.
That's right. Yeah. Because we went actually to almost. Did we go?
I think it was
midnight?
was it the Game Awards?
Yeah, I think it might have been the Game Awards.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was a crazy night too. But last night was off the charts. It was awesome. It was really fun.
So appreciate everybody tuning into that show. Everybody tuning into this one. Again, if you just hop in for a minute, we appreciate you. If you watch the whole way, we appreciate you. Liking, share, subscribe, all that stuff. You guys absolutely freaking rock. Fahim says Mav eats cheese and quackers. Yeah, I do like quackers. All right. Jasper, the realest one, the lore master himself. I'm going to let you off easy, not have to follow Pong tonight. Where can everybody find you, bro?
Lord Jasper on Twitter. Bye. Okay, no, I'm just joking. Lord Master Jasper on YouTube. Lord Jasper on Twitter. That's about it. FSP is Friday, FSP is Monday, 10 p.m. Eastern. Xbox Ultimate is Friday, 9 p.m. Eastern, and that's about it. I don't know.
Right on. You doing anything interesting on your YouTube channel this coming week?
I got a new capture card coming, so I can
what kind?
see. It's the Elgato X or whatever, so I can get my VRR. I can get 120 frames, so I can see it. But
sweet.
Yeah.
Is it like a 4K pass through or like?
Yeah, it's 4K pass through. So I'll be able to see it, but I can only stream like.
Does it have HDR pass through?
Maybe. I just wanted so I could use my monitor's features. You know,
that's what I'm missing. I'm missing like HDR pass through and all that kind of stuff. So,
I'm getting Destroy All Humans too, so I'll probably stream that. I don't know.
Cool, right on, dude. The always fuzzy one himself, the absolutely amazing Fuzzy Belvedere. What do you have going on the Twitter sphere? You join any good spaces lately? Where can everybody find you?
Oh man, thanks for having me on. It was awesome being here with you guys and everyone in the chat. Thanks for coming out. For anybody that wants to hear my ramblings on Twitter or see what I'm listening to as far as spaces, especially when they go left or right or just yell at each other about random things, just follow me on Twitter at fuzzy_Belvedere. And also you can join me on FSP with Lore Master Jasper, Psychonauts, 3-Bit, and Mav all on Monday 10 p.m. Eastern time. Breakfast with Boom, 10 a.m. Eastern time on Double Barrel Gaming here on Xbox Ultimate at 9 p.m. Eastern time. And on Saturday or tomorrow night with Pong and PTK on PTK Blam's channel for the Shop Podcast, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Look forward to it.
Right on, bro. And then we also have the always cool as hell, chill, mellow fellow from outer space. Love you, Psycho. Where can everybody find you, sir?
Yes, thank you for having me on tonight, sir. Everyone in the chat, thank you for coming out and spending time with us. It was a great show. You guys had great energy, and you guys follow me at Psychonauts 8 on Facebook. Oh, not Facebook. What the fuck? Twitter. I don't have Facebook. Twitter and Xbox and all that. And like everyone, FSP on Mondays at 10 and Fridays here always at 9 with great set of people on this panel. It's always a great time. But thank you, and we'll see you around.
Yeah, bro. Pong Soul, the encyclopedia. I can't speak. The encyclopedia of gaming dating back to the very first game ever created, sir. Where can everybody find you, bro?
Yeah, what a great night, brother. Sorry it was so late, but I was glad to jump in here and get to talk with all of you again. It's been such an incredible week of news.
Yeah.
This is what we all live for, right? Even the Amazon EA thing this morning, like I woke up to my alarm, I was getting ready to go work out, and like that starts popping off. I'm like, what the hell is going on? It's just it's so awesome, man. Even if it turns out to not be true, it's just awesome, man, how the community we were all in each other's DMs all over the place. It's so just gratifying to be here with so many different people that love this industry as much as I do. And that includes all of you in chat. Thank you all for showing up. So many, again, familiar names that were with me and Mav last night on PM and the PM, again, back over here for another show. It's just awesome to see all of you gamers. So love you all, nothing but respect. You know it already. Tomorrow morning, listen up, y'all. Live in split screen. Steel hasn't gotten to talk a whole lot this week. So you know it's going to be a big show tomorrow morning. I still got more to say. We know we're going to probably have some rants. There's going to probably be one or two get some help segments, as we call them on Living Split Screen. So you got to be there tomorrow morning, 10 a.m. Eastern, 9 o'clock Central Time. Set those alarms right now so you don't sleep through it. But if you do and you wake up and you roll over and you're like, damn, it's 11 o'clock. Guess what? Steel and I are still probably going to be rocking and rolling. So get on in there. Bring a friend, tell a friend. Mission 1K in full effect. That is tomorrow, 10 a.m. Eastern, 9 o'clock Central Time, 3 p.m. BST time. And then tomorrow night, like Fuzzy said, PTK Blam's channel. We got a great guest tomorrow night. The one, the only Wilmy Hood is going to be joining us on the Shop podcast. And again, for anybody who doesn't know, the Shop is awesome because PTK lets you guys in the chat take over for the second half of the show. Ask questions, bring up topics, and we talk about them. And he's also got me and Fuzzy running one topic each now. So it's a different show. Drop on in there. Best way to end your Saturday night, 9 p.m. Eastern, 8 o'clock Central Time. Next week, I will not be on the Factor, but you got to be there for Boomstick. Man, he had a hell of a week. He was live a lot like Mav as well. Shout out to Boom and the retired man himself. Awesome time on Xbox Factor podcast every Tuesday, 12 p.m. Eastern, 11 o'clock Central Time. And then Thursday nights, like Mav and I were just talking about. If you didn't watch last night's episode, look, it's like 4.5 hours, but you got to go catch it. We had an awesome time. And again, shout out to Big Cloud Gaming for jumping on in with us and giving us his great thoughts and different perspective about the whole Sony thing and about some of the Gamescom stuff as well. We had a great time, but that's how it works every Thursday night. So jump on in, join us, 7 p.m. Eastern, 6 o'clock Central Time, right here on Fun Speculation channel. Otherwise, it is the golden age of gaming, people. I think everybody understands that at this point. Like, this is nuts. So get out there this weekend. Enjoy the weekend, first of all, but play what you love what you play. And I'm going to talk to you all real soon. Mav, where can everybody find you, brother?
Twitter, Fun Speculation, right here on YouTube, Fun Speculation. Hit the notification bell to find out when we go live. Twitter, check me out there. You'll find out whenever we go live as well. And for all of our random stuff that we do, videos, game streams, podcast, and more, we try and do everything we can, and have a lot of fun doing it. Thanks to you guys, are absolutely awesome, and thanks to everybody here on the show that helps us do everything, because you guys help make it all happen. And yeah, but we'll be playing some games this weekend. I'll probably be streaming here and there, random stuff, whatever I feel like playing. Soul Hackers again, maybe some Battlefield.
New season in a couple days.
Pong, did you go with the English or the Japanese voices?
I started with the English. I'm going to probably switch to the Japanese, but I did start with the English.
How is the
just to make it
English,
easy.
you think?
It's very, very good. Again, Atlas spares no expense.
Yeah.
They're like Square Enix. Even on their lesser titles, they go out and get top talent for their voice talent. Great acting, really well done. Just amazing so far. Again, if you don't know what Atlas is about, it's different. It's like when you can look at a Square Enix game and you know it's a Square Enix game. You can look at an Atlas game and know it's an Atlas game. That's how different they are, but just top-notch quality all the way around. So far, loving the hell out of it. So
yeah, right on. Yeah, I've been playing with the Japanese voices, and I'm like, I just want to hear the English ones. The one thing is like you can't change it in the middle of the game. You have to like
I know
start over. So I'm curious about going and trying that. But I might be playing some Soul Hackers too. Sure as hell going to be playing some Battlefield. Maybe I'll dive back into some Halo, some more Saints Row. A lot of stuff to play, and even more coming up in the next couple months, guys. It's going to be absolutely bananas. Oh yeah, Madden too. I'm into Madden right now as well. So I'll see everybody at whatever you end up checking out. Appreciate you all, and have a good one. Take it easy. Bye.
Bye.
Bye, everybody. We'll see you later. Oh yeah.
You want me to let you keep going, or bye,
Watch my
everybody?
OnlyFans.
Okay.
Well, I'm banging your mom.
Yeah.
Bye.